Kelsi from Kelsi Explains It All. I'm really excited because I'm joined once again with my favorite friend, Katherine. She's so much fun. She's such a joy to see, and she's a joy to talk to, and I wish I got to see her more. But she's here with me right now, and we're going to talk Christmas. Hey, Kat, how you doing?
I'm fine, Kelsi. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing even better. It's like a holiday Christmas present getting to have this chat with you, so I'm excited.
Yes, it's awesome. I can't wait to discuss all of the horror movies we chose during this Christmas season.
So yeah, our chat, guys, isn't just about Christmas. I mean, we are going to have another chat, by the way, which will be more about like regular Christmas stuff and some other thematic things, but this chat is about that's my spookiness. It's about creepy stuff because it's all about Christmas horror. And you know, I kind of did a little bit of thematic stuff. I watched 10 Christmas horror movies, but Kat over here, she went ham and she went crazy in a good way. She always calls me a beast, but this time she was a beast, and she did a whole theme of 12 days of Christmas horror, and she watched 12 Christmas horror movies. So we're going to talk about our movies. We had a lot of movies in common on both of our marathon lists, but there were some that we didn't watch at the same time. But before we get into our lists and what we watched and didn't watch, let's talk about the inspiration for the chat and, like, you know, what we feel about the marathon. So, Kat, tell me why did you want to do this marathon? Why did you pick the movies you picked?
Well, first of all, horror is my favorite genre, and I had so much fun doing the Halloween horror movie list and the whole thematic fun list. So while I normally watch regular Christmas movies during the season, I thought, why not do horror, Christmas horror movies? And so I scoured the internet and looked and found all kinds of movies. Some of them I had heard of before, some of them I had never heard of. So I thought it was a real treat to be able to just explore that, and it has been really kind of neat. I mean, to figure out, I don't know. And not all the movies, they're horror, but some of them are like horror, like dark comedy, movies, whatever. But it's definitely, I don't know, it's just a lot of fun to be able to have a spin on just the regular Christmas movies that you normally see during the season.
It was a lot of fun, and I gotta say, people know me, and they even know you for liking horror movies, and also they know me for liking Halloween time. So I was actually just planning on having a regular Christmas marathon, much to, I'm sure, many people's surprise. But then Kat started to talk about doing horror movies that were Christmas themed, and I was like, maybe I should put some horror movies on my Christmas marathon list and not just do plain old Christmas movies. So you inspired me to kind of take it the horror route and to add some horror movies in there. So I was like, yeah, let me do that with Kat. And it was so fun to research because, even though I like horror, like I said, I actually have hardly seen any Christmas horror movies, just a few here and there. But a lot of the movies on my list this year were first-time watches for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was really kind of surprised at how many Christmas horror movies are out there. I mean, you pretty much can find a horror movie for any holiday, but to find a pretty decent, extensive list for Christmas was surprising to me. So it just makes me hopeful that next year I'll be able to watch some of the ones that I really like this year and then add some new ones, So I don't know. I just think it's fun, and I'm glad that you ended up watching some too, so we can compare notes.
Yeah, you totally inspired me to go kind of add some more, because I was just thinking, oh, whatever, regular old Christmas. It's not Halloween anymore. So nope, we're kind of sprinkling some spookiness into our Christmas season. I like that. So it's a good thing to spread it around. Plus, like you said, it's fun to have a marathon. It's fun to have a list of things to do, like a plan for the month, a very thematic plan. So I'm glad we did this for sure. But like I referenced, you and I didn't have the exact same list. You had 12 movies that were horror themed. I had 10. And you had about 4 movies. Well, I'll say, we'll get to it, but it's basically like 3.5 movies that you watched that I didn't. And we'll explain that more as we go. But Kat, tell us about the movies that you watched that I didn't. There's 3.5.
Okay. Well, the first one I want to talk about is called The Children. And it actually takes place, it's during the holiday season. It's not quite on Christmas Day or not quite on New Year's, but it's 2 families. They're getting together. They're sisters, that's how they're related. And the one sister, Elaine, and her husband, Jonah, bring their two children to go visit her sister, Chloe, and her husband, Robbie, and their two children. Well, it's once they arrive, the little boy gets out the vehicle and he starts getting sick. So of course they just think he's, car sick or whatever. So, they bring him in, they're having a nice time, but then the kids start acting really weird.
Right.
And before you know it, they're like turning into little monsters, basically. I mean, not
Wow.
physically, but
Yeah.
just like emotionally. And I think that's what makes it so terrifying. Is it's very hard to watch children act so demonic, or just trying to kill people, especially their own parents, or whatever the case may be. So the only thing I'm a little confused about, and I guess I should have researched a little more, is to figure out what actually causes the virus. I think there a little more is explained in the ending, which I don't want to give away. But it's, is it the woods? Is it something that these people bring with them? Did this child have a virus and then it comes in contact with these other children? I'm not really 100% sure. But it doesn't take very long. I mean, you have the niceties in the beginning, and then it just full launches into the craziest, most terrifying story. And then you come to an ending that you're like left really unsure, like what's going to happen next? Like, is there the children part 2? Yes, it's like, so you're kind of left. I mean, and it depends on what kind of personality you have. If you are the type that you want to have some sort of like a normal, happy kind of ending to it, you're going to feel one way. If you're the type that's like, well, it'd be more realistic for it to end this way, you're going to go down that path, or whatever the case may be. But it's definitely something I would recommend watching, because it's just very scary. And I mean, the only other scary movies I can compare it to, that if you've seen them, is The Omen.
Yeah.
You know how freaked out it is to have that little kid like that. And then The Bad Seed is another movie that comes to mind. It's the kids look so innocent, but yet they're so deadly.
Well, it looks like I have to add this to my list for next year then.
I would definitely, and it is English. It takes place in England, and definitely, to me, worth the watch. So whenever you do watch it, we'll have to talk about it, because you want to have somebody to talk about it with. And I watched it alone, so it wasn't like I could confer with my husband or my son or anything like that. So definitely worth a watch, The Children.
Next year, it's already penciled in now.
My other movie that I watched that you didn't get to watch was called Wind Chill. And it takes place during Christmas time. The main character is Emily Blunt, and she isn't really given a name. And she's the girl, and she gets a lift from the guy. And they're leaving college, and he's going to take her home. And it's just, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite out of the horror movies. It kind of had like a slow start. And it's a ghost story. So they basically wreck on the way there. I'm not going to give all the details about their relationship, but some things are revealed. But they wreck in this like snowdrift. And of course, they're not prepared to be out there in this freezing cold. And they discover that there are several people who have died on this path for various reasons. And so scenes play out, and sometimes they're involved in the scenes. So that was kind of creepy. It was sort of like, are they having a break with reality because they're freezing to death, or are they really seeing these things? What's going to break it? Whatever. But I don't know. It wasn't, they had a couple of moments that I was like, okay, that's kind of creepy or whatever. But overall, and I can see why Rotten Tomatoes gave it like a 46%.
Right.
I was kind of surprised because Emily Blunt was in it and she's so good, but this was early on. I think this was like 2007.
Oh, wow. So that makes sense then.
Yeah, and definitely not the same caliber as Emily Blunt in A Quiet Place. It's just different. So I wouldn't say I would rule it out, but if you had other things to watch, I would watch that maybe instead of this. Then, of course, I put Gremlins on my list, and I hadn't seen Gremlins in so long, and I kind of remembered it just being kind of like a dark comedy. I was really kind of surprised. I'm like, people really do die in this movie.
Yeah. It's darker than you think.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So definitely horror. I mean, it's from 1984. Which I'm thinking, God, 1984, I was in high school when this movie came out, but it's a classic. I don't know if you know this, directed by Steven Spielberg, which I think is just awesome. And if you don't know what the story, I mean, for the people out there listening to us, I mean, it's a dad. He's an inventor. He's not a very good inventor of gadgets or whatever. And he stops in Chinatown and then he buys this mogwai, this little creature, and he calls him Gizmo, and he brings it to his son for Christmas, and of course, Gizmo is precious. And before he leaves the shop, they explain to him there are 3 things that you do not do. They can't be exposed to bright light. They can't be exposed to water. They cannot be fed after midnight. All seems so simple. But as we know, the rules don't get followed. And not so much that they don't directly follow they don't directly break the rules. The rules are broken in an indirect way. And then, of course, mayhem transpires and, we have a new character on the scene called Spike, who's actually pretty bad.
He's so mean.
He causes so much mayhem, and what's so funny is his little white mohawk.
Yeah.
But there's so many great scenes in there, like when the gremlins come about in the house, the things that happen with the mom. It's like, I don't know, I don't want to go into too many details if there is anybody out there who has not seen Gremlins, but it is definitely worth the watch because they're so fun. I mean, do you have anything you want to add or you think would...
I just think Gremlins is a classic. It's amazing. See, I would have watched it, but I actually just watched it not this past October, but the October before. So October 2019. Everyone's like, why are you watching it at Halloween? It's so people were telling me, no, it's a Christmas movie. I had seen it before, but like, I never exclusively associated it with Christmas, but I really should have been associating it with Christmas for a long time because obviously it's all... The movie, there's tons of Christmas stuff in the movie, tons of holiday stuff, presents, snow. It's just like, man, why wasn't I associating this with December in the first place? I don't know. But either way, since I kind of watched it recently, I didn't put it on my list this year. But boy, do I love the movie, though, in general. It's so clever. And the creatures are so well designed, too. It doesn't feel like you're watching a movie from 1984 in terms of quality. Because everything looks so good. Now, if you had made that movie today, like right now, 2020, oh my God, I just would cringe at how they would make the Gremlins look. It would be all CGI. It'd be terrible. It wouldn't have that nice, that feet, like almost that textured feel, like you could go and grab a gremlin right through the screen. That's what it feels like when you're watching 84 Gremlins. But today, it would have been different.
It's definitely a movie that I hope they never remake because I think it has, what do you say when it has stayed the test of time or whatever?
Yes.
It really is a movie that it doesn't matter if you watched it back then or now. I mean, and I don't know. It's one of those movies like I'm sad like I had, and we own it on DVD. So it's like, it's not like I couldn't have watched it at any time. I just kind of forgot about it. And then when I started doing the research on, Christmas horror movies and I saw that Gremlins was on, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to watch it. So it was just so great. I mean, and then they had characters in it that I haven't seen in movies for a long time, like Phoebe Cates.
Yeah.
The little guy, what is his name? He was in Lost Boys. What is his name?
I don't think I remember his name either.
I cannot remember, but he's in stuff like, I think Goonies or he's been in like Lost Boys, but so it was just neat kind of seeing some of those. Hoyt Acton, I think, was the dad. So just seeing some of the actors that you haven't seen in movies in a while, was also pretty great. But,
Truly a classic. I think it could be on anyone's Christmas horror list or just horror list, because like if you're just looking around Halloween time, I think it's okay to watch it during Halloween. For those people who are like, for people who are like, don't watch it during Halloween, I was like, come on. I already did.
Yeah, but I know it kind of goes in hand too with like Nightmare Before Christmas is kind of like that. It's like I watched it during Halloween, but I guess I could have also watched it, during Christmas. And I almost thought, well, if I can't find enough horror movies, I'll put it on my list and rewatch it. But then I'm like, nah, I consider it more of a Halloween movie. But there are people out there who thinks it's more of a Christmas movie. So I don't know. It's all
depends on who you talk to.
Yeah, right. It's subjective, right?
Exactly. So many things are.
And last but not least,
oh geez, here it comes. Yes, dun, 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 dun.
Well, all I can say is this movie Saint, which has a variety of different names. It's the same film, but like in one instance it's Sint, Sint. Another one it's Saint. The envelope I got from Netflix had Saint Nick. It is a Christmas horror movie, and it's also Dutch. So you do have to read subtitles.
Oh, really? Wait, so yours had subtitles. Yes, mine was like dubbed, which was worse. It was so bad. Oh my God. Okay. So by the way, guys, I said 3.5 because I watched 20 minutes of Saint. I kept falling asleep. I mean, it was bad in the first 20 minutes, but I didn't fall asleep because like, oh, I'm over this movie. I wanted to see the badness and continue on, but like I was just so tired that day, kept falling asleep. And then it had surpassed the amount of time that my rental was. So there was no way. I was like, I really don't want to spend another $4 on this movie. So I told Kat, like, I'm dropping Saint. She's like, I'm going to keep it on my list, even though you're saying it was bad. I was like, what?
Yes, well, I mean, I was able to get it through Netflix. I am probably one of the very few people in the world who subscribes to streaming plus DVDs on Netflix. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to get DVDs on Netflix, but I have that plan still.
But, you could find gems on there with the discs sometimes that you can't find anywhere else.
Exactly. Well, guess what? Saint, which I would not classify as a gem.
Definitely not. From what I saw.
Was one of the ones I got on DVD. So, actually, it's just so surprising to me. I just have to say, I kind of looked at these Rotten Tomato ratings just to kind of get and you and I talked about this prior to, starting to have this conversation, that's kind of subjective too. I mean, there are things that they rate low that I love and things they rate high that I'm like, that was terrible. But Saint actually rated higher than Wind Chill. I'm like, how? I don't even see.
Well, you know what? I believe it because when we looked up our best horror movies list, or like, what to watch for Christmas horror movies, it was on a lot of lists.
No.
How?
How? I don't get it. But anyway, I mean, basically, it's Saint Nicholas, but he's not like Saint Nicholas that most people know, the kind person that Santa Claus is based on. This is a terrible person that goes through this little village and, basically steals and pillages and murders people with his little, I don't even know, his little army of people that come with him, and they do all his bidding. And then he puts some kind of notice on their door, which is in Dutch. So of course you don't know what it says because they didn't even tell you in the subtitles what it said, but whatever it did, it made the village people mad. And they went and killed them and killed him on his boat, which he arrives in a boat, which I was kind of confused about that. But anyway, so now in the future, Saint Nick or Saint comes back and takes revenge on the children of all things. The children. Like, the children are not who killed him. So I don't understand.
So it's not like Krampus where these kids are bad.
No.
It's like it's undeserved revenge.
Yes, it's undeserved revenge, and there's like a time period of when it happens. So the movie goes from where we meet Saint, Nick, and then it shoots over to like 1968, I think it is, and you have a family that is basically destroyed, with one little survivor boy, and then years later, we find out the survivor boy is a policeman who everybody thinks is insane because he talks about this Saint Nick coming to take revenge on this town, and nobody believes him. But once and for all, he is going to destroy him, so he can never wreak havoc on anybody ever again. It is just so bizarre, really, really bizarre. I don't know.
20 minutes in, and I had the same opinion. I wrote corny and terrible right off the bat. I literally wrote that within the first 5 minutes. Corny and terrible right off the bat. I wonder if I think that because I'm watching the English dubbed version versus a version with subtitles alone. And I didn't know you watched the subtitles, so it's just bad then.
Yes, well, I didn't even know I had an option.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Watch it with the subtitles, but it one word I have written on my information: terrible. Terrible.
I thought it was going to be dildos because, by the way, high school kids in the movie, first 10 minutes, they're given dildos as presents. Multiple girls.
In a classroom. In a
high school. The teacher's like, ah, ha, ha, laughing about it. And I literally wrote, what kind of school is this? But I will say, we talked about this. It takes place in Amsterdam, and, the red light district, that stuff is legal there. So maybe it's just because we're American, so to us it's like totally strange. But I mean, the dildos were a joke. It's not like they were all serious about them, but still, I just find it odd that it was in school. That's the weird part.
Yes, and there's a teacher in the classroom.
Yeah.
It totally seems
laughing.
okay with it, and they're getting ready to go home and ready to go party with their, smoking their reefer or whatever.
I do remember too.
A normal thing.
Two girls are best friends, and like this guy, one of the best friends is cheating on with her boyfriend, and I was like, man, she's cold, and they're talking about it like it's no big deal, and I was like, and the boyfriend doesn't even want to break up with the other girl. Like, what is going on? Like, it's all very weird, all very strange.
Very, very strange. Very strange. And let's put it this way. If you just want to spend your life wasting whatever time it took to watch this movie, then go for it. However, I wish I could get my time.
Yeah. I'm glad I kind of fell asleep, actually. Paul just brought me a drink. Thank you, Paul. So I have got my little helper bringing me drinks. Oh,
that is so sweet.
You need a drink.
He's your little elf tonight. Huh?
My little elf. I need a drink to get through talking about Saint, because it's not only so bad to watch, but it's terrible to talk about. No, just kidding.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, and you and I kind of talked about you possibly re-watching it and re-renting it. And I'm thinking, not only would you have been upset that you could not get your time back, but you wouldn't be able to get your money back either. Yeah. I mean,
that would have been sad.
It's just sad that they even charge anybody to watch it.
I know. I can't believe I even paid to begin with. Like, that is kind of sad. I didn't even finish it. I paid and blah, blah.
Right. Well, in all fairness to you, it was on list of Christmas horror movies that are supposed to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave it a 55% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Which is decent. We should preface that because 55 doesn't sound high, but for like a horror movie, it is. Though.
Yes. So I'm just like, I'm shocked. Really shocked.
Yeah, me too, because it was on multiple lists. Not just one list. I remember seeing it on multiple lists. I'm in the first 20 minutes. I'm like, there's got to be some cool kills or something better than this. So did it get like any cooler in terms of like the violence?
They did have some. They did have some good kills. I mean, some that were pretty. Because he's got that stake thing, and
it's like a staff, like a
and then so they had that, and then the elf guys descend on the guy who is the boyfriend. He dresses up like Santa Claus, and he and his, which this was kind of odd too, his Black Peter guys that were in blackface, which I thought was very weird as well. Like
I literally wrote, guys in blackface? What the heck?
I know, I was shocked about that. And I'm like, I really had to look. Like, are they really? But they get attacked, by the killers that, accompany Saint Nick to go kill people. And so they had some good things where heads were getting chopped off and stuff like that, which I was like, well, I mean, it does say it's supposed to be like a gore fest,
well,
so
that's
I
good
was like,
least.
at least thank goodness we had something like that, because that was about all.
Man, we're twisted. At least there was some heads cut off. Yeah.
I know,
We're
it's
so
like,
twisted.
and the thing is, it's the only thing that could keep me going, because it's like, I'm almost like, it's so hard. I know that there are people out there who abandon movies if they're bad and they don't watch to the end, or there are people who read books and if they don't like the book, they just stop mid-range. I always am like, let me at least, let it redeem itself. There might be something, even if the ending could be good, so they did do. I mean, maybe that's why I got 55%, because of the kills.
Yeah, because like some people like a good kill scene. They love that. Horror fans love that. But I will say I didn't abandon it because like, oh, I hate it. It wasn't that. It was just that I kept falling asleep, was so tired, and then the money. I was like, I'm not gonna pay again. Like that's ridiculous. It was my own fault though. I shouldn't have picked the days I picked to try to start it. I should have known I was going to fall asleep.
You're definitely not in that category of people.
I usually finish stuff.
There's going to be people out there who would probably start like, in the first 10 minutes and like, what the heck? What is this?
So basically, guys, if you're thinking about it, be warned, because you might not want to finish it, and then you're wasting time, you're wasting money, and you're abandoning a project you started.
Exactly.
So be warned, if you do watch it, it's a hardcore investment in terms of, it's kind of weird. It's kind of bad.
Yeah.
But you can laugh at some parts, like the dildos. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know, still don't understand, but that's a story for another day, I guess. Or more analysis later. I don't know. So those were the movies you watched by yourself. Did you have a favorite out of those 4?
Well, out of the 4, I would have to say The Children. And The Children is also the type of movie I think I would want to watch again. I don't know if you have this happen to you. I mean, sometimes when you're watching a movie for a very first time and you have no clue what it's about or whatever, you're concentrating so hard on certain aspects of it that you miss things.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that might be why I know I'll have a little more information if I can try to figure out this virus thing, So I do definitely think it would be the type of movie that I would watch again, just because I need to see what the hints are to make a better decision of how I feel about the ending,
I know exactly what you mean, because there's plenty of times. Well, one, I'm a big fan of rewatching movies, period. I love to rewatch movies. There's movies I've seen like 50 times throughout my life if I really love a movie. So I'm a big fan of rewatches. Not everyone is. But also, I'm with you in terms of if you're concentrating so hard or even speculating on what a movie might be, then you go into it and you're really not absorbing everything. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big fan of watching again a couple of years later to maybe reabsorb some things, to rediscover some different angles I didn't notice the first time. And in fact, we're not going to talk about it for a few more minutes, but Krampus I had seen in the theater. I forgot a lot about the details, but I'm so glad I watched it again, and we'll get into that more. But yeah, there's plenty of stuff that I didn't fully absorb that I kind of noticed the second time around.
Right. Well, and I have to say, I mean, The Children was a good first watch. First time, I had never seen it before. I had never seen Saint and never seen Windchill. So out of the 3 new ones, The Children was at the best out of those movies. And of course, I love Gremlins, and we'll definitely watch that again, because I mean, I consider that a classic. So let's hear about yours.
That was some fun movies on your list. And I'm definitely going to put The Children for next year for sure, because it's pretty high praise from you, and I trust your opinion. So I'm excited to add it for next year. So my movies, I only have 2 movies that you didn't watch. One being the Gingerdead Man, and the second one called Black Christmas, the 2019 version. We both watched the original, and we'll talk about it in a little while. But let me start off with Gingerdead Man. Oh my God. Kind of like in the vein of Saint, but better. But also worse. I don't know, because I didn't see all of Saint, but like the production quality so bad. Oh my God. I did talk about this movie with my friend Nathaniel Toll, who wrote Pumpkin Cinema, the book that I love. It's all about horror movies for Halloween time. He joined me, and it's up on my YouTube channel right now, Super Kicking It with Kelsi. It was released just a few days ago, and if you guys want to check it out, go there and give it a listen and give it a watch. We did talk about a couple of movies, not many horror movies, but The Gingerdead Man was one of them. He hated it. And he likes movies that are bad. Like, he enjoys them, but he actually liked another bad movie more than this one. So I don't know why. There was something about this one he just thought was bad. He was like, it's terrible.
Has he seen Saint?
Yeah, I think he probably has. I didn't ask him, but I bet he has. He's seen like a lot of horror movies. But yeah, that's a bad movie. Like real bad. For real bads. But The Gingerdead Man, all I'll say is, okay, Gary Busey's in it for like 5 seconds. He's the voice of the Gingerdead Man. They're making this gingerbread cookie, by the way. Essentially, this guy's ashes gets mixed in, and that's how he's like brought back to life. You don't want to know the details. They show a close-up of the dough. It looks really gross. It's very terrible dialogue, terrible audio, terrible acting, terrible video quality. A lot of it's terrible. I will say this, though. The funniest part to me is this bakery is making this gingerbread cookie, and the mold is like this big, which is huge. Usually, like, a cookie cutter mold is like this big, like, or like this big. So what the hell? And not only that, they only make one cookie. They make a whole big batch of dough. It's like this much dough. Well, like this much dough. Tons of dough, like this much. And they use like this one cutter. There's tons of extra dough. And in the movie, the bakery is supposed to be going out of business. Well, no wonder. They're making one flipping cookie. How are they going to make any profits? They make a whole batch of dough, making one cookie, and then it turns out to be an evil cookie. So they can't even sell it.
Right.
Oh my God. And there's this one great part where the cookie, after it's brought to life, on accident, the cookie is arguing with a rat, and he literally says, "I'm gonna kick your little rat ass," and he's like trying to beat up the rat. It doesn't make any sense. It's really bad, but it's also a lot of fun. So I had a fun time watching it in terms of like I really enjoyed making fun of it. So I enjoyed it.
So you would recommend watching it?
Kinda, yeah. Because I don't want to be like, of course I would, and then somebody watch it and be like, you made me waste my time. But like, it's so over the top and absurd that like it was kind of enjoyable. And I will say, it gave me an excuse to make gingerbread cookies. And I'm not going to talk too much about them because you and I are going to talk when we have our next chat, which will be like a Christmas retrospective about all the thematic fun things we did this month. But one of the things we'll talk about more in depth are those cookies. It was a lot of fun, and I made them like victim cookies. They looked all bloody. So that's all I'll say, and I'll let you guys learn more about that later. It was really fun. I made a mess in my kitchen. Basically, that's what ended up happening. But
yeah, I did get to see that picture.
Yeah, I sent you a picture. Actually, this isn't spoiling anything, but my mom and dad and Paul's parents, because we brought some to them, they all said they were good. And I was surprised because I was like, yeah, they didn't turn out that great. But everyone kept saying, no, they're really, really good. I'm like, really? And like,
well, you couldn't judge the book by the cover with those.
Yeah. And like, I was so like worried about the mess I had made. I was like, it was a disaster, thinking it was a failure, but apparently they were good. So yay.
And you actually got your dough's worth.
Yes. I got my dough's worth. I actually utilized the dough I had. I didn't make one flippin' cookie and expect to be a successful baker with one cookie. With like a dough that could have made like 100 cookies. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I may have to check this out just so, if I'm having a sad day.
Yeah, because by the way, I either expected the Gingerbread Man, the killer guy, to be small, like a normal mold, or life size, like a ridiculous giant walking around like a gingerbread man, like a giant gingerbread.
Right.
But no, it was like this weird in between, like 6 to 10-inch gingerbread man. Like, what's going on? Why? Why that weird size? I don't know. Because it's too big to be a normal cookie, but too small to be threatening. So it was very strange. Anyway, it was a lot of fun though. I would give it, for the laugh factor, 3.5 out of 5 personally. Oh. Yeah. Almost 4 out of 5 because it's so absurd. And then the second one was Black Christmas 2019. And I don't want to talk about the original too much because we're going to get to that in a minute. But I'll say they took a whole different direction with it. I liked it, actually. It wasn't nearly as classic or as good or as exciting as the 1974 version, but the 2019 version of Black Christmas, it was unique, different. The first kill was kind of awesome and also ironic because this one victim, she gets stabbed and she ends up making a snow angel on accident, like while she's flailing in the snow. So I thought that was kind of like a unique kill, kind of like she's making a, not on purpose snow angel.
Right. Did her blood start mixing in with the snow?
Kind of, yeah. That part could have been a little more natural. It was very staged, but still kind of fun. The movie was going to be, definitely different, obviously, if they wanted to do something that was going to stand on its own. And to me, what it kind of did was take more of a feminism versus toxic masculinity angle. So it's kind of more about like female power, female, just not being second rate to the men.
Right.
So to me, it was more of like about a feminism angle. And I liked that actually, because I thought it made it so different from the original. And why remake a classic and do it shot for shot? I hate that. I hate when movie studios are like, let's just remake this and it's shot for shot the same. What's the point of remaking something that's so good if you're not going to take a different angle on it?
Right. And have like a fresh angle.
Yeah.
A fresh approach to it.
And my one thing I'll say is it's not giving away too much. Of course, the famous scene from the original is the plastic bag scene. They do revisit the plastic bag scene, but they turn it on its head and do it in a different way. So, yeah, it's not the same victim you would expect. It kind of flips it on its head. So I kind of liked that. It's a fun movie, and I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay, so you would definitely recommend that one for like horror.
Especially to compare, like since you've seen the original already, I think you'd have fun comparing it to the original and seeing how different it was. And, obviously the original's better, but this one still had its own merits.
Apparently there is a movie in between 74 and 2019, but that one didn't rate very well. I don't know much about it, but
I know some people like it actually, but I wasn't really interested in seeing that one because it seems like more of a
like an exact
remake, which I didn't want. I wanted something different.
Okay, well I'm gonna add your 2 choices to my list.
Yay, I can't wait to see what you think. I can't wait to hear your thoughts one day. All right, so those are our movies that we didn't have in common, but we're lucky because actually 8 movies we have in common, which is quite a lot. We were busy this year. I watched 10, you watched 12, just to recap the numbers. And we're going to start off with a movie that I saw, like I mentioned a few minutes ago. I saw it in the theater, Krampus. And I believe you watched it for the first time this year, though.
Yes, man, I did.
It was good. So before we get into like the little details and stuff, I do want to point out my shirt here. My dad just happened, I was telling Kat before we recorded, my dad just happened to give me this shirt as an early Christmas gift. He had no idea I was doing this horror chat with Kat, which has a lot to do with Krampus, but it says Seasons Beatings. And it's Krampus carrying away a kid and other kids are scared. Like, no, don't take me away. He's got the long tongue. He's got the birch sticks, which he uses to whip kids. He's got like the metal chain, which he uses to take kids to hell. The birch basket, which he also uses to take kids to hell. It's a great, great legend. And it's hundreds of years old, by the way. So that's the origins of Krampus just date back very, very long ago. And it was big in Europe. It was never really big here until recently. And I think this Krampus movie is kind of part of the reason I think that it's been gaining popularity in like the last 5 or so years. So I loved the movie, and I even loved it more since this year was a rewatch for me. Tell me what you thought about the movie, Kat.
I loved it. First of all, I didn't know anything about Krampus until this movie went to the theaters and I saw the trailer and I'm like, oh, that looks like it's pretty neat. But I didn't, unfortunately, I wasn't able to see it in the theater. So when I was researching what movies I would put on my list, I was like, I have to watch this one because first of all, it has Toni Collette in it. And I'm a fan of Toni Collette. She's wonderful. She was in Hereditary, Knives Out. I mean, just numerous movies. She's really a great actor. So I'm like, okay, Toni Collette's in it. It's probably going to be a good movie. And then just the whole premise of it that they have, it's, you know, this monstrous creature like a I mean, I guess it's like Santa Claus from hell.
It's basically
I mean,
like,
give me a little bit of background on him, because I didn't research too much more on it, even though most of these movies, it seemed like that was the theme, was Krampus.
I wish I had the book I read was about Krampus and like all these short stories. We'll get to that in our post-Christmas chat, but the back of the book has this great description of what like Krampus really is.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Krampus, there's different versions of the legend, but essentially they all have a lot in common. He's a horned, basically like kind of, he's not anti Santa. He's basically kind of like a counterpart of Santa. So Santa's more worried about rewarding the rich kids, and back with Krampus in that European legend, he's like the other half. He just takes care of the naughty kids. He's kind of the ones to make the naughty kids want to behave. He punishes them essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Some people do refer to him in legends as like the Christmas devil, and he's very devil-like. He's got a long forked tongue. He's got hooven feet. Or at least in some legends, he's got one hooven feet and one regular foot. He's got a big fur coat, so he's very animal-like. He's got large horns, very massive, very tall, and he carries around like on my shirt a birch stick to whip the kids.
And then he has chains also.
Yes, chains, and also a basket to carry the kids off to either hell or to some kind of punishment, because all the myths and legends kind of say that he takes kids away.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that be for a night or for eternity, that's not really clear in all these cases. Like, I don't know. I think different legends may say it differently. But actually, there are people in Europe, by the way. I sent you that video. They dress up like Krampus, and they visit the houses who have kids, and they kind of like scare them. It's almost like scaring kids to be good versus saying, oh, be good to get gifts. It's more like, be good so you're not taken to hell.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also too, I mean, just from the little bit in the movie, they have the background story in the movie. You get a little bit of that with the grandmother, and apparently you can be spared, even though the rest of your family is not spared, but you could be spared possibly. And then you've got to behave, and so that he doesn't come back and get you. But I don't know. It's just, I ended up getting that same book, and unfortunately didn't get to start reading it yet. So I need to find out more about him, because he is pretty interesting. Creepy.
The legend is so fascinating. Like, I didn't even know that this was a thing for hundreds of years, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is crazy how old this legend is. And like I said, in America, it's really not very widely known until recently. It gained popularity, and people were like, oh yeah, Krampus is a thing. Like, my dad, like, getting me this shirt, like, he could even find this shirt. It's so random. I can't believe he just randomly bought me this. But in terms of the movie, so good. I'm so glad I rewatched it. It was a pleasure to watch again. I had forgotten a lot of the details, including, by the way, there's a great ending. I'm not going to spoil it, but the ending really makes you wonder what's going on, what's real, makes you question things. And again, I think what makes the movie different from like the legend that I've read about is like, it almost seems like Krampus was coming because kids were questioning their belief in Santa versus just being bad. Because the kid in the movie that Krampus comes and kind of terrorizes the town he lives in and his family, that kid wasn't a bad kid. He was a good kid, but his family was bad.
Right, but he was, questioning, if, Santa is real and everything that goes along with Christmas. I mean, what I loved about it is it actually starts off like a classic Christmas movie.
Yeah.
You've got the Christmas carol singing in the background, they're doing their thing, at the mall with the play. They get their Santa picture taken, and the grandma's at home baking cookies. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It starts off, it's not really until about 25 minutes into the movie when all hell starts breaking loose. Now, I guess they have to give the background about the families, because again, it's a sister visiting a sister.
Yeah.
And the families. But I think it's a creepy movie. Once it gets into that factor of it, it's creepy. I mean, you've got toys that come alive. You've got the elves.
Jack in the Box. Oh my God. The Jack in the Box eating Yeah. What it eats, oh my God. Or who it eats, shh. I won't say who, but yes.
Yeah, but even down to like the snowman outside the window is creepy.
Yeah.
And it's just the whole atmosphere of the movie. And that it's coming. You don't know what's really coming, until you hear a little bit about the legend from the grandmother. But I mean, it's just, I don't know. And then, like you said, there's an ending that you're not really 100%. You're kind of left a little bit unsure, I think.
I think so too, because I was questioning, like, what does that mean? What's going on? Where did they end up, kind of thing. Yeah, it really is a nice, like, makes you ponder. I kind of like movies like that sometimes that make you wonder what is going on and question reality and question the story you just saw, what it all means. It's great.
It depends on your perspective. It depends on how you want something to end. Do you want it to end where it's happy and all that stuff they went through was hellish, but they're going to learn something from it?
Yeah.
Or, are you going to go down the other path where realistically,
yeah,
it's not going to be a happy ending, but I don't know. I think they did a great job at the end, trying to make you decide, you really left unsure.
Yeah, like you just are questioning the entire time. And I gotta say, so sometimes I like happy endings, but I like how this one makes you wonder what's going on. So sometimes I prefer a happy ending, but this ending I like. And I'll say, like, I like this ending a lot better than another movie we watched that left me questioning what was going to happen, like if a certain character was going to get what they deserved or not, and it left me questioning, and I was like, I hate this this ending. I hate it. But this one I like, even though you're still questioning. So it just depends on the movie, I think, and the story specifically. But Krampus was just so well done. The effects, some of them were over the top, like with the elves, like the toys coming into life. It looked a little cheesy, but it worked. I can't explain why it worked, even though it kind of looked CGI-ish.
Yeah, it might have. And even though it seemed kind of cheesy, it's terrifying. Like, I always try to think about myself in a horror movie, like if you're just, okay, we're observing this from our sofa, in real life and thinking, oh, that's ridiculous. If I was in that situation, I wouldn't do that or whatever. Well, that's not really the case. Because if you were in the situation where a jack-in-a-box comes alive and is trying to eat people or whatever the case may be, I mean, first of all, I mean, would you even be able to not faint?
No.
I think to myself, people, like, we have a hard enough time just like being scared with, I would consider normal things. Like if a dog jumped out at you, baring its teeth or whatever at you or whatever, that would be scary. Okay. Well, a gigantic jack-in-a-box thing.
That'd be beyond belief. Yeah. Your mind would be like, what is going on? And explode.
I do not think I would stand there and laugh at that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. No, I'm saying, like, I don't mean it's corny, like, oh, it's bad or looks bad or anything, or like is totally unbelievable. I just mean like the effects, like, especially like don't gingerbreads come to life? Like those look over the top and cartoonish, but it works though, like, because you're still scared of it and creeped out by it. So somehow, even though it's kind of cartoonish, it works. I don't know why, but like you said, if a giant jack-in-the-box came alive in front of me, I would probably like walk into a wall, like trying to avoid it. I'd be like, oh, what? And then also my head would explode. Like, what is going on? Your mind can't figure out if it's real, not real, or whatever.
Right. Well, and then the other thing that's terrifying about, I think, with Krampus is it's your children.
Yeah.
It's your children are involved. It's not like they're coming to fight with you, the adult. They're basically coming to try to steal your children because they think your children are bad. And then you don't really even know what you're dealing with, So it's like, I don't know, that's a whole scary factor where you'll do anything you can do to try to protect your kids.
I mean, you just feel for the moms, the moms who are like literally losing their kids. And they're like, what the hell's going on? Who would take my kids? Like, what creature would come from the chimney?
And of course they have to have a baby. It's like, could you not like to have a baby?
Oh, the cutest baby too. She's so cute.
I'm like, you could take the twin girls or whatever
they
that
were
belonged
mean
to the sister because they were mean. But don't touch the baby.
Yeah, leave that baby alone. Too sweet. What did the baby ever do to anybody?
I
Nothing.
know, really. It's definitely not naughty.
Yeah, definitely not. I do think this movie's great. I mean, I would give it a 4.5 out of 5, or maybe even a 5 out of 5. I loved it.
Yeah, I would give it a 5 out of 5. I gave it 5 out of 5 on Netflix. That's what I did.
Oh, good. So you rated it like the star rating on
Yes,
Netflix.
I do the star. Yes, I do the star rating.
I should do that more. I never do that. I do it on Goodreads. I just don't do it on Netflix. Yeah. But I'm so glad you liked it too, because I loved it. I think it's one of the best Christmas horror movies out there. Also, by the way, I don't want to forget, Nathan brought up this observation because he mentioned this movie. He said it's one of the coldest looking movies ever. Like the snow outside, you just feel the cold. And he said he would watch it with hot cocoa, or maybe some peppermint schnapps and hot cocoa or something, because he says it just makes you feel cold.
Well, it does. And then not only that, remember the electricity goes out.
Yeah.
And so it's like, whether you're in the house or not, eventually the cold's going to catch up in the inside of the house as well. I mean, it's the other thing too, who in the heck wants to travel out there? Because it's like this major blizzard or whatever happening. I don't know. It's definitely a movie that I think that's another one I have to go back and watch and look for details, because so much is happening in the movie that your focus is being drawn to all different things. And so it would be nice to be able to because I think too, movies that leave you unsure at the end, sometimes there are little clues and things that will help you discern better how you want it to end, so it's definitely a movie I would rewatch again, just because of the fun factor, and then to look for more details.
So even though I've seen it twice, I'm with you. I'd watch it again for sure. It's a very good movie. So for those of you who haven't seen it, check it out for sure. You won't be disappointed. And it's got that Christmassy feel. It definitely does have a Christmas feel.
Yes.
All right. So our next movie, you seem to enjoy it. I'm mixed on, and we can't say too much about it. So I'm going to let you start this off. We're talking about Better Watch Out. What do you have to say, Kat? And remember, we can't say too much about this, guys.
No, we can't say much about it at all. I would definitely watch it. I mean, I definitely think it's worth the watch.
Oh, yeah.
It's a movie. It's another movie that leaves you a little unsure of what's going to happen. It's also a movie that you have to watch all through the credits.
Yes, because there's something that's extra that actually Kat missed.
Yes, so if I would not have talked to Kelsi, because actually when I was watching this, I was texting Kelsi and telling her, oh my God, throughout the whole entire, like, I can't believe this, oh my God. And then when she explained something about the ending, and I'm like, I didn't see that. I'm like, are there two versions? And she's like, no, I think it might be in the credits. So I had to actually go back and watch, and sure enough, it's in the credits or right after the credits. But if you watch this movie, which I do definitely think it's worth the watch through the credits, because that will make you make a decision of how you think it's going to end. The one thing I have to say is I think the acting is terrific in this movie. It's a kind of movie, like Kelsi and I talked about this at the very beginning. Do not watch a trailer. Do not read about it, because when you read, like that's what I did. I got it on disc from Netflix, and they had a little synopsis on it. And so I walked into this movie thinking one thing, and holy moly.
Yes.
The one thing I will say is there is a little actor in there called Ed Oxenbould, I think is how you pronounce his name. He plays the character Garrett in the movie, and I really like him. He's a great little actor. He was in a wonderful horror movie called The Visit.
Yeah.
Where
the diaper scene, guys. If you've seen The Visit, you know what we're talking about. Right. The diaper scene. Oh my God.
And that's M. Night Shyamalan.
Yep.
The Visit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway,
that was one of his good recent movies. People were thinking, oh, he's not going to do anything good, but he pulled out a great movie with The Visit, and it's great to see this actor again, because I really loved him in The Visit, and he's even better here too. Mm-hmm. He plays like the best friend. That's not spoiling anything. He's a great character, and I like the actor a lot.
Yeah. So just there's a lot of it's the type of movie we really cannot talk about
Yeah.
in depth without spoiling the movie. I mean, we
Like,
just can't.
literally, what I wrote here on my notes is not sure how to feel about this movie. Because I'll just say I hated it, but I also loved it. Like, I honestly don't know how to feel. And I hate how the ending leaves you unsure, but you got to watch the ending to know what I mean. And you got to watch the whole movie to know what I mean.
Yes.
All I'll say is that this is the most I'll give away is there's a character that you freaking hate, that you loathe, that you just despise, that you can't stand. So
I agree 100%.
and that's why I feel so weird about it, because of the ending. I hate this character and like I don't know, but I wrote down not sure how to review or give my thoughts without spoiling a lot of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's what because I was like, what do I say? Like, what can you say that would not spoil this movie? But yeah, great film in terms of it keeps you guessing, and it really just surprises you with the twist that it has. And I'll say that you mentioned Ed, the actor Ed. I'm going to mention there's an actor named, I think it's maybe Dak Montgomery, but it's spelled D-A-C-R-E. He's an actor who played a character, a villain in Stranger Things in like the second or third season. And he also is one of the Power Rangers from the new Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, the most recent one. So yeah, he's a great actor too. He plays like an ex-boyfriend of the babysitter. So look out for him. He's in it too, and I really like him.
I do too.
Yeah.
But it is definitely, it's definitely a roller coaster ride. That's one thing I'm going to say. And if you really want, I mean, Rotten Tomatoes gave it 89%. So for a horror movie, if you're saying 55% is good,
it is.
89% is really good. I mean, it's right up there with, some of the wonderful horror movies out there. So definitely worth a watch, but better watch out.
I like that. Yeah. Worth a watch, but better watch out when you watch it, because it's freaking disturbing as hell.
Yeah, and if anybody does watch it, we would love to know what your thoughts are.
Yes, please comment. Well, don't comment below because you could spoil it for other people, but message us.
Yes.
Like, message us privately and talk to us about it, because like I wanted to talk to Kat about it, because that was my first movie I watched on the list. And I was like, I don't know how to feel. I just kept thinking for like 20 hours. It was just me. And like Paul was right next to me, but he didn't understand what I'm talking about. He didn't see it. So I'm like, I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel. Kat hasn't seen it. I can't say a word. I don't know how to feel.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
It's crazy, but one of my favorites. So good pick.
I wouldn't call it a favorite, but I definitely think people should watch it, because it was a movie that I kind of love to hate in a way, because I was just getting so mad at what was happening. I was like, I hate this. I hate this. But like, so Nathan actually talked about this movie because he said he saw it, like he got like a sneak preview of it, like with these other film people, and the director was sitting right next to him. So he was sitting right next to the director. So
wow.
Yeah, go to my chat, guys, with Nathan to hear more details about how he was sitting next to the director all of a sudden. He was like, whoa. It's a pretty cool story. Yeah. I mean, I guess Nathan knows some cool people or something, but I think it's pretty neat how he got to see it before everyone else. And he said he showed it to a group of friends who had never seen it. Nathan said that half the group was like, thank you for showing that to me. And the other half were like disturbed. And like I didn't like it really, but I kind of liked it, but I'm like, just freaked out. So he said, like, if you're in a creepy mood, watch it. And I agree with him. If you're like kind of feeling that eeriness and you want something kind of darker and sinister, watch it. But like Kat said, better watch out. I like that.
Well, it's almost like the movie that you almost feel like you need to go take a shower after you watch it.
Yes.
Just like,
yes.
And I think that's like what you said, Kelsi, is that they did such a great job acting acting in it, and it really seems believable, and you're just, I don't know, lots of twists and turns, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody who likes horror movies, and if you're into doing Christmas horror, definitely.
Yeah, because there was a lot of Christmas decorations, so it definitely had a Christmas vibe. lots of lights and stuff and sweaters. So, yeah, definitely check it out for sure. That was a good one. That was a good creepy one for sure. So our next one we're coming to is Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale. This is the second movie I watched. I watched it right after Better Watch Out this year. So I really loved it. I'll say before I kick it off to you, I thought there was some beautiful scenery, some great landscapes with mountains, snow, water, and ice. And the cute little boy for the lead character,
yes.
he was the best part of the movie. He was so likable. But what did you think?
I thought he was precious. I don't know how to pronounce his name, Piatari or Piatra, or however you pronounce his name.
I think it's like Peter, but like a foreign Peter.
Yes, he was precious, just a precious little boy. And we have to mention that it is Finnish. So mine had subtitles.
Mine did too.
I had to watch with subtitles, but like you said, it's very, the scenery is wonderful. It is also a movie that is very cold.
Oh, yes.
You know, because it snows there and, but I loved it. It, you know, right off the bat, it starts off where you've got this British company that's come in and they're trying to excavate something out of this mountain, and they're leading you to believe that they're trying to uncover, you know, something that's been there for many, many years. I don't know if they ever really say, do they ever really say, Kelsi?
Oh, I will say, I don't feel like it's a spoiler to say this is like a Krampus themed movie. Right. I think that's okay to say for all of you watching, because you obviously know something bad is happening in the movie. Like just a few minutes in, you're like, there's some kind of thing that's going to come out and it's going to be bad. But yeah, this is kind of like another Krampus themed movie. And I think they think they're digging up the real Santa.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, they call it, there's a name for it. Yeah, there's a name for it, like the Jula Pookie or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't catch the actual name.
Finnish Santa or whatever. Yeah. But, you know, so basically this, you know, little boy lives with his dad. We don't really know. I mean, the mom has passed away at some point. They don't really go into details about it, but the relationship between the dad and the little boy, I think, is awesome.
Yeah.
And, you know, the dad is runs a reindeer slaughterhouse. So they're, you know, worried about this company coming in and what it might do to affect their reindeer. And some of the reindeer, I think, in the beginning are getting killed. So he sets a trap, which is supposedly illegal, but they think it's wolves that are, you know, killing this. But I don't know. Can I say what is in the trap?
Yeah.
What they actually catch?
Yeah, I think you could say.
A feral naked man.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
Well,
a feral naked man.
Yes, a feral naked man. And they think he's dead at first because they're going to get rid of the body. And they're actually going to get rid of the body in the slaughterhouse. And unbeknownst to them, he really is still alive. And so from that point on, of course, the rest of the movie happens. But at the time that they find the feral naked man in the trap, children in the village start going missing.
Yeah.
And so this is another like clue that kind of alludes to Krampus, because Krampus takes children. So anyway, that's what I have to say. But I thought it was awesome. It's a horror movie, but it also has some comedy elements to it. You know, just the little boy in itself. And Rotten Tomatoes gave it 90%.
Yeah. So I watched Better Watch Out first, and then this one, and I was like, oh my God, this one's so much of a feel-good, like, even though it's a horror movie, it's like a feel-good horror movie, because like the ending is satisfying.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a happier, like,
it is
better ending.
You didn't think it was going to be happy.
Right.
At first.
And it's got a very unique twist, too, like what they end up doing at the end. It's a great, great movie, and I love one of the best lines is, so the little boy kind of catches on to how there's this evil Santa. The little boy kind of suspects stuff all along. The cute little main boy, Peter. He wants to stop Christmas from coming, so he's got like this little advent calendar. He tapes it shut on, like he tapes the day for Christmas Eve shut, or Christmas Day, I can't remember, but he like tapes it shut thinking that will stop the evil Santa from coming. He looks up pictures like in a history book, and it's like Krampus pictures.
Oh,
So it's like
yes.
of an evil Santa, and he wears like this armor, like he
Yes.
like a little helmet, and like, oh, it's so cute. Oh my gosh, the dad, like, you like the relationship. I thought the dad was really harsh on the little boy, but one of the best parts of the story is how their relationship really grows and like is really loving at the end. So I think
it is, and I'm almost wondering if he's kind of hard on the little boy because of the reality of what happened with the mom. I kind of thought that. I was like, man, he's kind of, but then I'm thinking, well, if he is kind of hard on him, if something would ever happen to him, the little boy would be able to take care of himself.
Right.
So I just kind of thought maybe that was why he was kind of harsh with him, was losing his wife. We don't know how long it's been.
Right.
I mean, would you guess it was
that
recently?
makes
I don't.
that makes perfect sense.
It doesn't seem like she's been gone for a long time. It seems like something that might have recently happened, especially when they have that scene where they're at the table and he had made the gingerbread cookies
and he was crying, like saying, you made him just like her. And so little boy,
you almost wonder if this was like the first Christmas since the mom had been gone. So I just kind of thought, well, maybe that's why he was so hard on him. But then, you know, as the movie goes on and the things that they have to do, they become closer. I think he becomes softer towards the little boy, you know, because of the circumstances. But, you know, without going into details of what happens to him. But,
not just softer, but like not going into details, but the little boy impresses him.
Yes.
As it goes on. Yeah. I mean, I just love the little boy so much. And actually, I love the line, the real Santa was totally different. And he means it's totally different than what you think of Santa. The Coca-Cola Santa is just a hoax. He literally says, the Coca-Cola Santa is just a hoax. I love that line. Great line.
Yeah, and that's what really kind of makes you, like, you never really know 100% what's going to be uncovered.
Right.
You know, so it's those little things like him having the book and the pictures in the book, and, you know, then the fact that the children are missing, and, you know, then it's, you know, whatever they mention, and then his also what he believes that it is. And then there are little things that happen, like he hears things on the roof. And that's why he's like all armored, because he's going to have to defend himself or whatever. But I don't know. What's kind of adds the scary element to it is they're isolated. They're not like in a little town situation. At least in Krampus, the family lived in a neighborhood. I mean, they're out like, you know, in the wilderness, basically. On a mountain.
Yeah.
And they're not very close to people. I don't know. There's just... I just thought the atmosphere, the where they're located, environment, I just thought it was wonderful. I would definitely recommend it. If you're the type of person that doesn't like a movie with subtitles, don't let that, you know, stop you from watching it. Unlike Saint.
This one's way better.
Yes, way better. So I liked it a lot.
I gave it a 4 out of 5 because I loved it. And I also love there's like a twist on like the image of elves. Like, it's not the traditional image of what you would think of as an elf, and you'll see what I mean if you watch it. Oh, it's great.
But
great
it's
twist.
It's the same thing too, because the elves in Krampus were not what you would think elves look like. I mean, when you think about just Christmas in general, that's what I think is great about all of these horror movies. They take things or elements of Christmas and they twist it to where it is not as cute and wonderful. I mean, if you want to put the elves in Rare Exports or Krampus next to the elves in Elf.
It's quite a comparison. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like night and day. I mean, they are not as pleasant as you think.
I love that comparison. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I would give this movie a very high recommendation to anybody. Like, definitely watch it, guys.
Yes.
So glad you liked it too. And next, a lot of people consider this the first kind of slasher movie, even more of a first than Halloween. It's from 1974. It's called Black Christmas. And, you know, it's actually funny. I feel like it doesn't show that much violence, but what it does show, and like what you hear, like these creepy phone calls throughout the movie, are very, very well done, very effective, very creepy. It sets your teeth on edge. It raises the hairs on your neck or on your arm. These phone calls that these girls are getting in the sorority. I love this movie. Just a spoiler in terms of my rating, I gave it a 5 out of 5. So I loved it. I thought it really exceeded my expectations. I had heard about this movie for so long, but had never seen it. So this year was my first time, and I was not disappointed. So what'd you think, Kat?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I mean, even though it was 1974, I just cannot believe still how scary it is.
Yeah.
And it's more psychological. I mean, there is death and people are going to get murdered and all that kind of stuff, but it's the cat and mouse. I mean, it kind of made me think about movies that came after it, that's where this had to influence them. I mean, you think about Scream, for example, the whole first where Drew Barrymore's in her house and Scream and she gets
the phone call
or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. It just reminded me of that, which of course this came first, obviously. But what's great too is Margot Kidder's in it. Like I'm one that I like to figure out who the actors and actresses are see their movies. And if anybody knows Margot Kidder, she was in Superman. She was also in the original Amityville Horror, which is a wonderful horror movie. But I liked it. You were on edge the whole time.
Yes.
It also was the type of movie that kept you guessing. There was a lot of creep factors in it. Like, you can't really even say, I don't want to say everything that happens, but there are things that you're like, oh my God, like how could they not know, that these things are happening in the house, from the very beginning. You're just like, oh my God, there's so much dramatic irony because you, the audience member, knows what's going on and these poor girls do not. The other thing that I liked about it was right from the beginning, it kind of reminded me of Halloween. The first thing with Halloween where, you're seeing through the eyes of the killer, so that was kind of creepy. And it is also a movie that you're left unsure at the end.
And Halloween was after. Halloween was 1978. So it makes you kind of wonder if elements of this movie kind of inspired. I'm not saying John Carpenter ripped it off or anything. I'm just saying
no, but you almost wonder if that's why, because think about it. When Michael Myers is the little kid, we even talked about that during Halloween. He's got his mask on and he's looking out of the mask, to go up to the house,
which is the camera too. It becomes the camera, so you as the audience, you're seeing through Michael's eyes, literally, because the camera is Michael's eyes essentially. So it's really awesome. And the same thing with Black Christmas, it did that a lot of times where it's the perspective of the killer, and so you, the audience, you're like seeing what his eyes are seeing. Right And actually, go ahead.
Well, and also too, I was thinking of Psycho.
Yeah.
There was little elements of Psycho, but Psycho was before this. So you're almost wondering if Black Christmas took elements from that and put it into this.
I'm sure many horror movies have taken elements from others.
To me, there's just like nods to movies that came after Black Christmas that they're taking from it. And that's like you said, if they consider it the first slasher film, I can see why. So what else do you have to say about it? I mean,
I just loved it so much. I actually was surprised because, I'm not giving anything away. When you look at the DVD cover or the poster or the movie screenshot thumbnail, if you're going to stream it, you see the iconic image of the girl with a plastic bag over her head. And that I call it an iconic kill because even if you haven't seen the movie, you know about this kill. It's the one thing you might know about the movie, even if you haven't seen it, because I haven't seen it, but I knew about that kill. So that kill happens way earlier than I thought. It happens.
Oh, I was surprised about that too.
In the beginning. Yeah. I was like, wow, so what else must happen? So once that happened, I was like, wow, what else is going to happen here? and just a lot of things surprise you in the movie. And again, the voice they picked for the phone calls, what a effective voice in terms of scariness. It had some kind of ew. Like when you heard the voice, you were like, ew. And the things he said was so gross and
Yes.
offensive. It was wonderful. I loved that so much. And I will say, it wasn't what I expected. I thought this would be more of like a campy movie. I don't know why I thought this.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know really much about it except for the plastic bag thing going in. But
Mm-hmm.
it really just exceeded all my expectations. And also, by the way, you were talking about how you like to see actors and like research what they've been in. John Saxon played a law enforcement officer in this movie. He was the dad who was also a law enforcement officer in A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes,
and apparently
he was.
He's also in, I love this director, Dario Argento. He did Suspiria, but he also did a detective type of movie called, I don't know if I'm going to say it right, it's Tenebrae,
Mm-hmm.
which I haven't seen yet. But apparently, John Saxon plays a detective in that. So he plays law people in a lot of movies, including Black Christmas. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the girl who is, I wasn't familiar with her. She's a British actress. I recognized her and I kept thinking, where do I know her from? Where do I know her from? But I watched this with my husband and he looked her up. She was actually in a version of Romeo and Juliet. And I can't remember what her name is, but I had seen her in something before and I'm like, she seems very familiar to me, but I don't know her name. And I don't think I've seen her in anything ever since then. But I don't know. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised with this one because of it being 1974. Another thing I was a little surprised about too was it just shows you the times and what was acceptable back then.
Yeah.
The smoking freely. It's like you just don't see that a lot in movies today, or like the way the drinking is, especially. I don't know. It was just really different. And not that I'm a prude or anything about that. I was just kind of surprised. I was like,
in the 70s, early
70s. I was just, I don't know, kind of surprised by it.
I loved the house mother, Mrs. Mack, who was always drinking. She was great. And actually, I couldn't find like a lot of credits for her. I tried to look up the actress. I couldn't find a lot that she had done.
At first, I thought she was Mrs. Garrett from Facts of Life. I was like, is that Mrs. Garrett from Facts of Life? She's in a creepy movie, but it was not her. But she was. But there was only one thing that bothered me the most about everything, and that was the cat. That's the one thing that just bothered me. Like, why are these people not seeking out this cat?
Yeah. The poor cat. No one's seen the cat and no one's wondering what's going on.
They can hear the cat, but they can't see it, But eventually I do think the house mother goes up to look for the cat. But
it's kind of like a downfall of hers. But yes.
I mean, they haven't seen the cat for days. Or are they even feeding the cat?
Yeah, maybe they think that the cat like has a bowl that it just visits, but like how could they not notice that the cat's not eating? I don't know. But I did wonder about the cat, but also something I want to mention, the phone. There was a phone that rings for the entire credits. That was a very thematic thing. Like you just hear this ringing during the credits. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed that.
No,
it was
I did
really
not.
Cool. It like I kept waiting to see when the ring would stop. It lasted like the entire time. It was awesome.
I don't know. And then I just thought it was so, I don't want to say anything without giving away, but towards the end, the fact that she is still in the house after all the things that transpire, I'm like, God. What the heck? Why is she not in the hospital?
Yeah.
Why is she not like at her mom's house? Why is she not anywhere else besides the house?
Yeah, why is she staying there?
Well, and I think it's because they tranquilize her, so she has no clue. I don't think she did it by choice.
Well, yeah,
You're like, what the heck? Everybody leaves and she's in the house. Like, even if nothing else is going to happen, why would you want to stay there?
And her protection people just walk away. They're like, whatever, it's okay. We can be far.
Well, right. Well, but they did have a policeman. I'm assuming that was a policeman outside smoking a cigarette on the steps. But I'm thinking,
still
everybody
far
goes away and you didn't even know. And then all of a sudden you see the policeman and you're like, okay, I guess it makes me feel a little better. But like, how insensitive.
Just this movie is so good. Like, and I don't know, I'm probably reading too much into it, but there's like a lot of red in the movie. Like there's these red wreaths on the door. There's red lights reflected in like glass. Like when the camera is panning across the house, you see these red lights reflecting. And to me, it like created like a sense of foreboding, like, oh, what's going to happen? Oh, murder. Oh, blood. I don't know. It just created a really good atmosphere in my opinion. And also not to give too much away, but there's a character who's a musician, and the musician smashes on piano keys at one point. And then you think he's involved in something, but you're not sure. But I feel like you can hear that sound of the smashing of the piano keys a lot throughout the movie when like things happen. And it kind of makes you wonder who's involved, who's not involved in terms of who's the bad guy. You never know. But yeah, like I kept hearing the smashing. It was like a bong noise whenever something bad would happen. And I was like, that's interesting that the musician kind of made that noise at one point too.
Well, you said this is the same director as Sapira?
No. I'm saying that the actor who played one of the cops was also in the director of Suspiria's other movie.
Okay.
No, it would have been great if the Suspiria guy did it. That would be cool.
I'm almost wondering because the colors were big in Suspiria. I mean, I didn't see it, but I know that's one of the things.
Colors were huge in Suspiria. Yeah, colors were really big there. But I mean, I could be reading into that. It was something I jotted down. I was like, there's a lot of red lights. I just thought, like, why red? Why not white and other lights too? Just the red struck out to me like it was on purpose or something.
Right.
Like,
blood.
Well,
I'm sure it did. Yeah. It had something to do with it. Yeah, I don't know. It was very creepy. It's the kind of movie that I'm glad I did watch it with, my husband was here when I watched it, because it is the kind of movie that if you did watch it by yourself, I mean, the next time your phone rang, I mean, the good news is we have cell phones. So the odds of somebody trying to call you on your cell phone, actually, that would probably be even worse.
But still,
it's like, how did you get my number?
Yeah, who are you? Yeah. But the whole thing is, like, the idea that they're in this house, though, and you don't know who else is in the house. The house is so big, whereas you could feel alone in a house made for like tons of people. To me, it's like the whole idea of not being safe at home, or where you call home, because it's not like all their permanent homes. But yeah, that's the scariest part.
It is.
Great
and the fact that somebody's watching you,
Yeah.
And like they know things about you, and when they call you on the phone, they're talking to you about it. And then then it's like, okay, something is really, I don't know. And I just think that's creepy, because to me, that movie, Black Christmas, is something that really could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's not like something like Krampus where we know it's got a fantasy element to it. I mean, I would hope Krampus is not real.
Yeah, me too. It'd be very scary.
Let me look around.
I think I would have already been visited. I think I would have been visited as a kid. I was a bad kid.
Maybe he didn't make it to the United States until just recently.
Yeah, so I'm safe. I was safe. Thank goodness.
But anyway, I think that's also what makes this movie creepy, is the fact that it is realistic. So, and then also too, we're females.
Yeah.
So, we're put in that situation. It would have been far-fetched if it was a dude that was getting the calls.
Oh, yeah. I love how it was like believable. Like, to me, that's what was creepy. It's like, you're a girl, you're here, and anything could happen. Like, some creep could just come out of nowhere. I gotta give it a really high recommendation for people to watch. Like, even more than all the other movies we recommended, this one was like, it's a classic. You got to see it.
Okay, so in your opinion, if someone wants to watch this and then watch the 2019, obviously they would watch this one first.
Yeah. That's how I watched it.
2019. Okay.
That's how I watched it, yeah.
Okay. And so you think it's far enough away from each other that it wouldn't be like a disappointment to watch the 2019 after you do it? Like,
it's just so different in terms of they changed directions with it so much that I think it's not a disappointment. It's not really about the phone calls as much, and it's more just about a statement. I don't know, it depends. Like, some people might get annoyed that it's like takes such a feminist stance, but I like it because to me it's kind of logical. Because, it's this whole sorority thing. It's like, it just seems like for an updated version for today's society, that kind of makes sense that the girls are more like, it's like an empowerment thing. But I will say there's probably some people who are kind of mad that it's more like these guys being like, women should stay in their place. Like, I'm sure people are like, oh, this is a typical move. Like, so some people might get annoyed with the whole premise of the new one. But I just thought, wow, what a unique take. Thank goodness they did something different. That's how I felt about it.
Right.
So, okay.
Which I have to say about the 1974, I was kind of surprised too that the women were a little more independent.
They were.
I mean, and you had that the two, remember the girl in the very beginning who doesn't want to like partake in all the stuff? She's the one that kind of angelic or whatever. She kind of represents what women were. And they, Margot Kidder's character, and then the main character that is the one that initially gets the phone calls or whatever. They just seem like they are at the beginning of whatever that was.
Yeah.
Of trying to be feminine, feminist or whatever. So I was kind of surprised about that too. It, for being that time.
I mean, there was like posters in the girls' rooms, like sexual posters. So like it's almost like kind of like a sexual revolution type of, like, these women were like empowered. They weren't like, oh, I've got to have pearls on and be at home and not have a career. And it really seemed like these girls were on their way to being very independent, being their own person. And you see that very much with a certain character who wants to do something that I can't believe they mentioned it in the movie.
Oh, I know. I was really
in the 70s. I mean, that's very surprising to me. You guys would know what we're talking about if you watch it, but like, it's something that most women wouldn't talk about back then, but she talks about it openly because she wants to live a life. Something happens, she feels like she can't, she wants to do something about it. Anyway, you probably know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to just come out and say it, but I can't believe they mentioned it in the 70s.
Well, and that's the thing too. I guess I'd have to really go back and look at more movies that were at this period of time, just to kind of see, because the only other reference I had was Salem's Lot, which I had seen, Salem's Lot for the Halloween one, and I was kind of surprised by some of the things that were in there, but it almost makes me want to do a little marathon in 70s movies and just see and compare if this was like the emergence of that kind of stuff.
Well, it would seem to be like a more progressive era, I would guess, but I just can't believe they mentioned it on film. Yeah, I just like a woman, especially, like, just being like, oh, I'm an independent, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, it seemed very progressive.
Very, for the time, yeah. But like you said, maybe we're like underestimating the progressiveness of the 70s or something, but I just don't remember other movies talking about that.
Well,
like,
you gotta think, in 1974, you weren't even alive.
Well, that's true. But I watched a lot of 70s movies.
And I was a whole 5 years old. So, how I would have viewed things as a 5-year-old would be totally different. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't be in conversations like these girls would have been in, but I don't know. It makes me wonder, like I need to do a little more research on that, because
that'll be fun.
Yeah, it just seems kind of strange, but I don't know. I liked it. It was
I liked it a lot. And I liked how the women weren't the typical, like, we're used to in horror movies, like, sometimes there's a good, strong final girl, but a lot of the other women are ditzes. It felt like a lot of women in this movie were, like you said, like ahead of their time, very strong. I don't know, just independent, okay with being their own person. I like that a lot. So
yeah, I agree.
Strong female characters for sure. Not all of them, but a lot of the characters were.
Yes. Maybe that's why she was the one that, in the very beginning.
yeah, maybe. She's like, oh, no partying for me. She already partied too much or something. I don't know. Behind closed doors. Anyway, it's great. Trust us. Definitely take a look. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, but I actually hadn't. And I love horror movies.
That was a first for me too. So definitely recommend.
Definitely. And now we're going to go from one we really loved to another one I really personally loved, A Christmas Horror Story. I don't know how you felt about it, Kat, but I loved it because there were a lot of characters, I will say. So at first I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to keep all these people straight? It was almost like a mini anthology movie where there was like a lot of different stories, but they all tied in at the end in a way. And it's just very creative the way they tied in, and what a twist at the end. Not what you think at all. And a great appearance by William Shatner. I love this movie. I also gave this a 5 out of 5. So what did you think about it, Kat?
I loved it as well. First of all, I love the fact that William Shatner's in it. He's the DJ. He's, at the radio station. He's playing his tunes. There is a really bad thing happening at the mall. He's telling everybody to stay away from the mall. So all throughout, as he's playing his music and you come back to him, he's kind of giving developments of it or whatever. So he's like kind of holding all these little stories together. Like Kelsi said, it is an anthology, and it's actually Canadian. Did you know that?
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, Canadian. But what I loved about it is I love stories that have a lot of characters. I think I tend to gravitate more towards character-heavy stories more so than plot, especially if the writing's really good with the characters and they develop them. But there's actually 4 little stories that happen in here, and I have to say, every story has some kind of a connection with them, which I thought was kind of neat. Like they have the kids that want to break into a school because they're doing some kind of a story on a murder that happened at the school, which used to be a convent. Wasn't it a convent before?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so anyway, there's a murder there, and one of the girls can't be there because she's got to go with her family to visit an aunt. So that leads to another story. And then the policeman who investigated the original murder, he's in another story, which I really liked because it had to do with the changeling. And
oh my God. And
if you know anything about changelings?
A little.
Well, I read a book by Mary Downing Hahn called Guest. And that was my first exposure to a changeling. And that was a very creepy, it's a children's lit book, but it's very creepy. She writes children's horror, and probably one of her best, because the whole concept of a changeling, it's basically this creature that takes your child and it takes the place of your child.
But looks like your child.
Looks like your child, but doesn't act anything like your child. It's like very, very, very creepy. And then finally, the last one, I don't really understand how the last one, except that it's just Santa Claus in general. This is happening during Christmas time, is that Santa Claus in general is preparing for Christmas, but his elves and even Miss Santa Claus become zombies, which I thought was hilarious because, I love the zombie genre.
Yes. There's this great line, "Stay back, Jingles." And then Santa has to chop off Jingles' scalp. Yes, "Stay back, Jingles." It's great. Oh my gosh.
Yes, it really is one. I just loved how everything kind of tied in, but I'm not really 100% sure how Santa tied in with
well, Santa wasn't who you thought he was. That's how it tied in.
Okay, well, okay, so you don't realize
the only way. You don't really realize that. So
until
it's
later.
a whole big thing. But I will
again, this one has Krampus in it.
Exactly, I was going to say that. Yes. Another Krampus appearance, like in all these movies, and these are all kind of newer movies, the Krampus ones, like Rare Exports, Christmas Horror Story, and of course Krampus, kind of later movies, but funny how they all have to do with Krampus, and I never saw like most of them until this year.
Well, what's funny about it is the very first movie I started off with was Krampus.
Yeah.
Then I watched this one second. It has Krampus.
Right.
Then I watched Rare Exports third.
Krampus!
Alluded to Krampus. I'm like, is every movie I'm going to watch about Krampus? Maybe Krampus is what's in the children. Maybe that's what's in the woods. I don't know. But really, those are the 3 that, Krampus does have in there. But I liked the intermingling and how it worked out.
Oh, I loved it, yeah.
The thing about it is, what I also loved about this movie is there is no happy ending.
Yeah. But the ending...
I shouldn't be laughing, but...
But the ending is so surprising, though, that you don't care that it's happy.
Yeah.
You're just like, wow, like that was really surprising. That was really good. And so you're just like, whatever, it's okay that it's unhappy. But yeah, it is pretty crazy. And I got to say, the writing is superb because mixing all those stories to where they do make sense and kind of cross against each other at some point or another is just genius and very hard to do. So I think the writing in this was so good because it's difficult to do something like that and plot it all out and to have it work. And oh my God, just to go back to you talking about the changeling, the kid and the mom and the weird, like the changeling and the mom and the weird, like, oh my God, ew, and like creepy. And yeah, that was a great story. Oh my God.
Yeah, because again, it had, to me, anytime they do something with a child, especially, and that little boy was precious looking. I mean, he just was like just so innocent and precious or whatever. So for him to be a changeling, I was like,
Oh gosh, yeah.
oh, because anytime a parent, especially a mom, I think, has to question, you know, her relationship with her child and the hard decisions she might have to make.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're like, I don't know, the whole scene with the dad
Oh
and the
my
fork.
God.
I'm like,
Oh,
that hurt me. And it wasn't even happening to me.
I winced on that scene, and like the mom kind of gets over it kind of fast. Like she gets mad at him and getting so angry. I mean, he just had his freaking hand like hurt really bad. Like I would have freaked out too.
I would have freaked out. And then I would have been like, I am not staying in this house.
Yeah, I would have been like, I think I know this isn't my kid. I mean, my kid would not stab me or whatever.
Yeah, it was just so, I don't know. I mean, but that is exactly, changelings are not nice little creatures to begin
Right.
with. And I guess because I had that, information before, when I found out that's what it was, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And this is not going to end well. I don't like it.
I just, this movie was so good. It kept me guessing
Mhm.
the whole time, like especially at the end. Santa, the whole Santa part was very interesting. I liked they made Krampus look really creepy and really disturbing.
Yes,
Yeah,
that was one. I mean, Krampus is pretty funky in Krampus,
yeah.
but this, I mean, I almost felt like
The tongue.
like you almost
Oh,
had a chance with Krampus and Krampus.
yeah,
This Krampus, no, like there was no like you convincing, give me a second chance, nothing.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like there's this one part where his like long tongue is like creeping under,
Yeah.
and it's like ew, touching people. Like get out of here, tongue. That's gross. Just like
Nasty.
yeah, it's so long. It's so gross. Oh, that's terrible.
And then the
But anyway,
chains whipping around and
yeah,
everything. It
he
was
very strong too. He was very very strong and powerful.
Mhm. Yep.
5 out of 5 for me. I love
Yeah,
that movie.
yeah. I think I gave it 5 out of 5 too on Netflix. I'm almost positive because I loved it.
All right, so we've been agreeing a lot, but I think we're gonna about to disagree. But I'm not sure. I just have your texts to go by because you were texting me. We're gonna talk about Christmas Evil right now,
Oh,
and you
God.
were texting me during it saying, "Oh my God, this guy is so creepy." And so I hadn't seen it at this point. You were telling me I can't wait for you to see it, and then you told me, "Oh my God, the ending, ha 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 ha." And I was like, "What is she
Yeah.
saying? Like, what is she talking about?" I was like, I don't even know how to respond. And so I watched it, and I was gonna expect to hate it because at first you were like, "Oh, he's so creepy." I thought I was gonna feel like I did with Better Watch Out and like really hate somebody in it. Actually, I know this sounds crazy, but I kind of empathized with the main character. But of course,
Oh my God.
he was insane though. But he was insane though. But but I'm not insane. But I could see like why he was kind of disturbed. But anyway, I actually loved it. I know.
And actually, it actually got a high rating. I was kind of
Yeah.
surprised after I watched it. I'm like, ugh. I mean, it is from 1980. So I was like, well, but then I'm thinking Black Christmas was 1974.
Yeah.
Gremlins is in the 80s. I mean, this, I can't even, it was very disturbing. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
disturbing to me at the very beginning. Just the close-up shots of the dude every time he would do something with just like his eyes, and
Yeah.
he's just like so creepy. And then he's got a book with naughty kids, and then he's got a book with nice kids, and he spies on the kids. I'm like, ugh, like I didn't even know where it was going with all that. And then he just does these most bizarre things. Like at one moment, he seems like a very nice guy, and I can kind
Yeah.
of see, well, what happened to you? But what happens to him when he's younger does not promote what he has become. I'm just like, this is the most bizarre thing. I mean,
And what they kept showing, by the way, when he was a kid, it's just like, okay, so there's Santa, like obviously his dad is dressed up as Santa when he's the main character's a little kid. Him and his brother see Santa. Santa's coming down the chimney. Yay, Santa! They're watching Santa bring the gifts. They're watching Santa with the mom, like hidden in the corner, so Santa can't see. They're watching him have like a little snack and then wash his hands. They have a hand washing station and everything. So the kids go to bed. The brother's like, that's fake, right? It's dad. And the other brother is like, no, it's not dad. So I guess to kind of confirm his beliefs that it's the real Santa, he goes downstairs to sneak another peek. But he sees the mom with who he thinks is Santa at the time, like, and The funny part is like the Santa is just like close up on her leg. Like they just keep showing the Santa like by her leg.
It's like what
over and
what
over
the
again.
heck? I'm like, and so okay, he sees this or whatever, and then he turns into this really creepy dude that does these bizarre things. I mean, he's just like the whole thing is bizarre. Outside the church, I
Oh
mean,
my god, that part was
using
great.
the toys.
Oh
I
my
mean,
god,
I'm just
outside
like,
of the church was awesome. Like, yeah, like that was so terrible because
like,
how do you do that stuff
and
on
not only
the
that,
steps of a
like not
church?
one person stops him. Like he could easily have been overcome by
There's
the
a
other
crowd of people. Yeah.
Just like, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of over the top. The ending was, I'm like, really? I mean, just thought it was. I did not like this movie at all.
Yeah, I could tell you didn't like it, and I was like so surprised at how much I loved it. So I gave it a 5 out of 5. I actually think it's one of the best horror Christmas movies ever. I will explain. So yes, what happened to him doesn't really warrant him going insane. But at the same time, so I'm thinking that in this disturbed individual's brain, I'm thinking that one, the wiring in his brain's already wrong as a kid. It's like
Yeah,
it's like
obvious.
yeah, yeah, it's wrong. I'm just thinking. I think he has a disposition to have like a mental illness.
Yeah, I would think so.
So I think this little episode with just seeing the mom and Santa like close together and like in a weird position.
They're not even doing anything that would warrant that. I mean, what does she do? She like, I mean, he's looking at her leg. I could see if she was like in like skimpy lingerie or something.
A little weird. Like they didn't even go all out and like show more. Like the parents actually like having sex or something. They're like just the Santa's like by her leg, like caressing her leg with his head. But to the kid, it was like, oh my god, this is like Santa who I worship, like messing around with my mom. I don't know. So okay, so in my mind, the he's already predisposed to be disturbed. So this like makes a mental break, which follows him the rest of his life. He can't he can't marry the love of Christmas and then the weird thing that happened. And then I actually think it kind of turned him into someone who likes to watch other people. Because there's this one part where he's like outside of his brother's house, like watching them mess around. Yes, and like it almost seems like he's conflicted about it. So I think that thing from childhood maybe turned him on, and he didn't know how to like, I mean, it's his mom, it's Santa, and he's like doesn't know how to rectify that. Like, what the hell? What does my mind make of that? His mind can't handle it, and it explodes. But he still loves Christmas. So he's like, celebrating Christmas months and months ahead. He's spying on kids, making his own naughty and nice list.
And he makes his own little toys.
Yes.
He's got little toys that he makes.
And he dresses up as Santa. And once he puts on that beard and decides to dress up as Santa, I feel like the transformation is complete, and he's no longer him. He is, in his mind, he is Santa, and he's going to be a good Santa where he rewards good kids. So he goes to the hospital, he gives away toys, he takes toys away from bad kids, and then all throughout this, he's disturbed already, and there's all these people kind of pushing on his mental health a little bit, and these are terrible people around him, people taking advantage of him at work, people just being shitty to him, and shitty in general, and so he cannot handle it like a normal person would, so he goes crazy on Christmas because he's pushed too far, and just loses it on people.
Well, what I thought was also ironic is he works in a toy factory.
Yeah. Well, he loves Christmas, so it would make sense that he would want to make toys.
Probably the best part of the movie was when he goes to the guy he works with's house and he tries to go down his chimney.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, yeah.
But then he goes in his room and he does all these things to the guy.
Wife is there.
And the wife is sleeping through the whole thing. I'm like,
until the end.
But still. And I mean, could you let somebody do these things to Paul and you just sleep through it? I mean, come on.
Second. I'd be up in a second. He'd jostle. I'd be like, "What are you doing?" And then I'd see there's a guy there dressed as Santa. I'd be like, "What the hell?"
I just thought it was great. I mean, that I did think. I was like, okay, this is a little over the top, but it is kind of funny at the same time.
Well, I just thought it was such an effective look at a disturbed person. Like to me, if you expect it to be a slasher, you're going to be disappointed because it's more of like a psychological look at somebody who's clearly insane. And to me, Christmas is kind of a coincidence around it. Christmas is kind of just the surrounding atmosphere of his craziness. It just happens to be he's obsessed with Christmas. It could be anybody who's going crazy.
Right,
they could have picked anything, but it just so happens for this person it's Christmas. And I thought the actor did such a good job of seeming insane.
Well, he did. And I mean, I guess that's the other thing too, is to himself he doesn't seem like he has an issue.
Right.
You know, but everybody around him thinks that he's strange, even his own brother, which I do have to say this was the one thing that I did like about the movie is if you are a Walking Dead fan, his brother, Harry's brother, is the guy who plays Dale. It's Jeffrey DeMunn. He plays Dale on The Walking Dead.
And he looks so young.
And he is so super young. And also another thing, and I forgot to look the lady's name up, but the mom, you know the little kid, he spies on this little kid or whatever, and they're about to leave, the mom and the kid.
Yes, and the mom's all mad.
To get him in the bushes or whatever, which I thought was like, okay, the mom is right there, and you're like trying to attack him in the bushes, knocking him in the head or whatever you're doing to him. I mean, which I thought was so bizarre. But anyway, that mom played on, I think, Home Improvement.
Oh, really?
Yes. I forgot to look that up, but when I was doing my notes, you know, earlier, I was like, I need to look that up, and then I forgot, but I'm almost positive. So that just tells you these were early acting jobs for these people, but he looks so young in this movie.
Yes. I've got another Easter egg actor tidbit.
Okay.
I can't remember. Have you seen Breaking Bad?
No. But I mean, I know a little bit about Breaking Bad.
There is an actor who plays a character named Hector Salamanca, and he's in a wheelchair and he's got a bell. The actor who played him is in Christmas Evil as just a random party guest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, outside of a party. And I'm like, oh my God, that looks like the guy from Breaking Bad. He's got a big part in Breaking Bad. Mm-hmm. And he's much older. Yeah. And so he is in this movie as like kind of like a party guy on the outside during that dance scene. It's like right before the dance, like, you know, where he goes in and dances.
Oh, yeah.
At that party. And everyone's like, yeah, we're happy there's a random Santa. They don't even question who he is.
Yeah, that to me was bizarre too. I mean, it's just like at one point there are some people that think he's awesome. And then there's another point where people are like, this guy is a little deranged.
Well, that's why I kind of liked the mix. Like some people were like impressed by him. Others were like, what's wrong with this guy? And you never knew because he fooled some people. So to him, it was like one of the best nights of his life for some parts because he was fooling people into thinking he was really Santa. And he was like playing the part and he loved it. I will kind of backtrack to something you said about the mom in the bushes. Oh my God, you remember he painted his face with the mud and left like a calling card with his hands. He like pressed his face and hands against the wall. Like, what is he doing?
That? Like, what? Oh, and who would know that? Like, what is that supposed to be? Like,
he's like marking the house to give him bad gifts or something. I don't know. It was weird. And the ending, I just could not handle the ending. I liked the ending. I thought it was like he has gone so insane. He's completely broken with reality. And he imagined something that like he probably just crashed off the bridge.
Yeah, I guess.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess that, I mean, it makes sense. That does make sense. If it is his imagination.
Yeah, it is.
Not, you know.
Not really happening. Yeah. Like the policemen aren't seeing that. The angry mobs aren't seeing that. It's like in his head.
The whole angry mob thing was cracking me up too.
They couldn't catch him and they were like, hey, get away from our kids. And the kids are like hugging him like, no, we love him. Cool.
I didn't give it a 1 star. I think I gave it 2 stars just because there were some elements of it that I was like, okay. And then I have to give Dale a shout out.
It is so funny that you and I differ on this movie. I loved it. God, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I love this convo though. This is good stuff here. The mom, like what's happening there with the legs? I don't know.
That to me, I just couldn't get over that. I'm like, what is going on?
All right, so we totally didn't agree fully on that one, but I think that was fun. So here's the next one we're going to talk about. It's called Anna and the Apocalypse, and I don't know if we're going to agree on this one either. So I don't know if you liked it a lot or not, but I actually didn't like it very much. I thought it was unique in some parts, but I thought like some of the songs were kind of forced, but some were catchy, I will say. No such thing as a Hollywood ending. No such thing as a Hollywood ending. Like, that was a little catchy. But to me, it just felt so High School Musical, but with zombies. And I wasn't a big fan of High School Musical. I did like Disney Channel original movies, but I had stopped liking them by the time High School Musical came out. So, I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree because I loved
I knew
it.
you
I was
would.
kind of unsure at the very beginning because it kind of started off kind of slow with the
Yeah.
whole backstory and then like I thought the way I pictured it was High School Musical meets Shaun of the Dead.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
kind of how I
That
did.
makes
And then
sense.
my husband looked something up and he said somebody compared it to Shaun of the Dead meets La La Land. But
Oh,
I'm like, no, because La La Land is more adult and Hollywood and all that kind of stuff, whereas High School Musical is high school students.
yeah.
But I didn't realize it was a musical until you mentioned it before I watched it. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, this is going to be interesting. I loved it. I loved it because it did kind of remind me of Shaun of the Dead, but it was like a different take on it. I didn't know anything about High School Musical, and just recently I saw a play of High School Musical. So I kind of knew like that little part of the story, but
Right.
so that's why I kind of said that that's what it reminded me of. I love zombies, which I know.
I know. I like them. See, I knew you were going to like this movie, and I like them. I just don't love them. But I do think this was kind of unique with the musical element. That was
Yeah,
different.
I did too. But like I said, it kind of slowed. My only complaint about the movie would be that it started off a little slow in the beginning. I thought the acting was well acted. I loved some of the music. The snowman scene in the park when they're heading to school, I thought was hilarious.
Oh my God, that was funny. The costume guy.
Well,
Oh God,
yes,
yeah.
because she brings whatever that thing is back and decapitates him, and her
I think
friend,
it's a seesaw, right? A
yeah,
seesaw?
I guess it
Yeah.
is. She pulls him back and decapitates him. The blood's shooting out, which I thought was just awesome. And her friend, which is a guy, like she's the girl, you would think she would be the one that's horrified. The guy is screaming like a girl,
Yeah.
which I just thought was hilarious. And he's trying to explain to her that it's a zombie or whatever, and she's like, things like that don't really happen, like
Yeah, she doesn't believe it, but she
totally
just
normal.
decapitated him, and like the head's wiggling around on the ground. She's like, "No,
Right.
zombies don't exist." Like, what the
Well,
hell's happening?
and I was surprised because I did not think my husband would watch this because of it being a musical, because he's not a big fan of musicals. And he said, no, I want to watch it or whatever. He liked it as well. Now
Wow.
he did not watch the first maybe 20 minutes when they were all at the school and singing and all that kind of stuff or whatever. So he didn't get to see that part of it. He really came in once with the snowman.
Well, I will tell you, so I timed it. We don't even see the first glimpse of a zombie until 18 minutes in. So you're right, it does start slow.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a good thing Barry waited, because the first 18 minutes, you don't see any zombies. It's just music and kids and a backstory.
Yes, and really the only thing that gives you a clue, and this is what made me think right off the bat Shaun of the Dead, was as she's walking through the parking lot, she bumps into the zombie guy.
Yeah. Oh, and she doesn't even notice him. Yeah.
And she doesn't notice. And it's like, okay, that was a zombie, And so that kind of reminded me of that, because that's kind of how Shaun of the Dead is. Like, they don't really notice at first. I don't know if you've seen Shaun of the Dead. Have you seen
No,
Shaun of
I've
the Dead?
got to see.
Oh my gosh, Kelsi, you have got to see Shaun of the Dead. It is awesome.
We'll have to rectify it.
Yes. Well, after you see Shaun of the Dead, you'll understand. But
yeah.
they're both English. I don't know if you're a fan of Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg is one of my favorites. But yeah, so in that respect, so I'm thinking, okay, but I do think it needed to be a little faster. I do think if my husband would have started watching it with me at the very beginning, he may not have survived it. Like, he may have just either fallen asleep or left or whatever, because he would have been like, what the heck? This is supposed to be a zombie movie. But, and also too, I was kind of surprised. It's not a movie that ends like, oh, so happy. you know?
I'm so sad about some of the characters who died.
Yeah.
Like,
I am
especially the
too.
first major one. I was like, no, I thought like it was going to be a different ending, like that stuff was going to happen. I thought there was going to be some kind of romance that developed someplace. And I was like, I can't believe what happened at some points. And
I
like,
know. I actually had tears because I was
too.
like, no.
I even said out loud, because this is one I watched at Paul's parents' house when we were visiting. I had to get some movies in. So they're watching football. I've got my headphones on. And I was like, no. And they're like, what? I was like, I'm just watching something. Nothing. Nothing important. Like, I literally said no when that one character... Oh, man. I was so sad. I will say, though, and in fact, I got to correct myself, because I can't remember if I wrote down the first appearance of the zombie when she bumps into him, or like outside of the school later on. So maybe when she bumped into him, it was sooner in the movie. And then later, 18 minutes in, is when like it really started. So I can't remember when I timed the first zombie
It
appearance.
just seemed like it was a long time. It seemed like about 20 minutes before anything happened. And I have to say, I could not stand that guy who was going to become the headmaster. I hated him so much.
I hated him.
Like, ugh.
Which means he was a good villain.
Yes, he was. He was.
Yeah, he was a good bad guy.
He made me so mad.
Unlikable.
Yes, he was. And then this is the other thing too. The only thing I have a little confusion about is, you know how when they're having the talent show and he's about to go berate the girl for singing the sexy song or whatever, which I think she did a very, very good job, by the way. He hears the thing by the door, and you know he's fussing at whatever's by the door. He closes the door, but you don't see anything. Like, what did he do? Like, did he kill something out there?
I think that the zombie came outside the door and killed something, but he must have seen something, because they never went home. They stayed there overnight. So he must have seen something when he opened the door.
But it looked like almost like something like, almost like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, when they would stab the, you know, vampires and they would turn into like ash or whatever. It almost seemed like there was like something floating around. So then I'm thinking, did he do something? He just seemed awfully, he seemed awfully like, look at me.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. You know, like
he could have killed something and then closed the doors and told people, oh, we got to stay here. There's freaking monsters outside, like
so
zombies.
I kind of would have liked to have seen what transpired at that point. I guess that kind of leads to the, you know, mystery of it. But you know that there is a zombie because Anna bumps into a zombie before that part.
Yeah, that part is confusing. I'm with you. I don't know what the heck happened there and why they left it out. Why couldn't they show it? But I will say, I have a question for you, because you're a big zombie movie lover. So all these people in zombie movies, they kill the zombies and they get the blood all over their face. If it was me, I'd be so paranoid, like knowing that people are obviously infected with something, but it's like all around their eye sockets, and they don't get, like Anna has like smears of blood all around her eye. Like, wouldn't you be freaked out and a little more careful when you kill the zombies? But nobody in zombie movies are ever careful with the kills. They're like, whatever, let me get the blood everywhere, all over my face.
Yeah, I know. It's very confusing to me, because even in movies like, or even TV shows like The Walking Dead, when they know it's actually a virus, but the virus actually lives within yourself, it's like, don't you think that maybe the blood mingling with your blood would cause something? But it doesn't, for whatever reason. I don't know why.
That's the part where I don't get, because like to me, I'd be so scared to get any of the blood on me, like near my eye, where it could like infect me possibly. But I mean, especially when they don't know what's the true cause.
Right.
In the apocalypse, they don't know what causes these people.
No, they don't.
Must assume that it's contagious. Well, obviously bites do, but like, if a bite causes it, obviously saliva to blood, wouldn't blood to blood or blood to eye, like into your bloodstream cause it?
Or even if you got it up your nose.
Yeah, or in your mouth.
Breathed it in, yeah.
Or through a cut, or like if you got a cut, like, you know, doing battle and then the blood got in the cut. Like, to me, in a zombie film, like I would be a lot more careful killing zombies for sure if it was me. Just saying, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna cleanly cut your head off and you stay over there. The blood spatters away.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean that is a good question, because apparently you have to be bitten. I mean, in order for it to happen, you know. And what's funny is all zombie shows, you know, it varies. Like some people instantly turn into a zombie, and then some people it takes much longer.
Or just a few minutes. It depends. Few minutes, few seconds, few hours. You never know. I do like how they do little differences and subtle things. Like some zombies are fast, some are slow. It's all very fun. That's the cool part that differentiates the different zombie movies. So I do like how they change it up a little bit. And I will say there's a great kill in this movie. The bowling zombies. So basically, they bowled the zombie back into where the pins, the machine picks up the pins. I think I looked it up and it's called the pin setter. So essentially the pin setter cuts his head off and the zombie's head rolls through to the ball return. And you see his head like where the ball.
I love that. I thought that was great. It was wonderful.
Yes.
And I do like the weapon that Anna gets with the candy cane.
Oh, yeah, that was great. I will say that was really cool of a weapon. It way unique. It's not a knife. It's not a gun. It's a freaking candy cane.
Right.
Very Christmassy.
I thought it was great. But I would definitely recommend watching Shaun of the Dead. I cannot believe you have not seen Shaun of the Dead.
I will watch it and I will tell you about how I think of it. I will watch it. I will rectify it. And I will say, I didn't hate Anna and the Apocalypse. I just wished it was a little like less high schooly, a little less musical. But I loved like some of the elements of it. I gave it like a 3.5 out of 5, almost 4. Very, very close. I might even raise it to 3.75 out of 5.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, Shaun of the Dead to me is much better.
Yeah.
But I think for the originality, I thought it was pretty cool. And I mean, I did like the musical aspect of it, but I mean, I like musicals, so.
I like musicals too. It's just like, I don't know. I did really like the song, like I said, No Such Thing as a Hollywood Ending. Like, it's in my head. So I will say that was a freaking catchy song.
Yeah, because it is not a happy ending. I mean, it's so if you're thinking it's going to, just because it is a musical and all that kind of stuff, nah.
You should have gotten a clue right when they sang that song that, of course, they're singing that song in the movie. Okay, it's not going to be a happy ending in this movie. It's not going to be perfect. So yeah, I got to say that one was fun. I was not expecting what it was, and the musical aspect was so unique. Now let's move on to our final film that we both watched. And this one for me was a rewatch, but it had been, God, at least 15 years, if not more. I remembered some small elements, but overall, not a lot. This is surprising because I love Bill Murray. So this is Scrooged, which is like kind of like the Bill Murray take on A Christmas Carol, directed by Richard Donner, who also directed The Omen, which is two very different movies, by the way. But also kind of similar, though, because both are dark.
Well, they are dark comedies. They don't even list this as a horror movie.
Yeah.
After a while, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have picked this from a horror movie because.
But the Christmas Future was horror-ish.
Yes. And so that's what The Ghost is. Why I kind of figured it would be, but I should have known that it was going to be funny, funnier than
Bill
most
Murray.
Christmas Carol because it's Bill Murray. But 1988.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that old. I didn't look up the year. Wow.
1988. And it had to be probably one of Bill Murray's first movies.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
I think so. I can't remember when Stripes was. I can't remember if that was 70s or 80s, Stripes, because that was probably an early movie for him too. Ghostbusters is more 80s. Yeah, so I don't know. It's definitely one of more Bill Murray's probably darker roles, his first dark role, because Bill Murray has like 2 different roles he's played. His younger role was like the smarmy, cocky guy, and then the older role was like a sad kind of, you feel bad for him old man. But in between, there are some darker roles that he's done, and I feel like Scrooge might be the kickoff to his like kind of different persona that wasn't just the smarmy, cocky guy. It was kind of like a darker, weirder element to the Bill Murray persona that he usually portrayed, the characters that he usually played. I will say, I remember not loving it the first time I watched it, and this time I rewatched it, I was like, was I just too young and I didn't get it? I liked it more this second time, but I still didn't love it completely. But I gave it a 4 out of 5 because I do love Bill Murray, and the end is great. So I think the end is the cream of the crop of the whole movie. I do also love, I think the way they portray the ghost of Christmas Future is really unique, with like he has this robe. He opens up the robe and there's like these zombie dead people, and it's really creepy, but very different. You don't see the Ghost of Christmas Future look like that in any other version of A Christmas Carol. Also, he's got like a monitor. Did I see this right? A monitor as a head.
Yeah, that's
for
what
one
it looked like.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't remember because I was watching this as I was exercising right before our chat. I barely got this one in, but I got it in. But I was like, did I see that right? So I'm glad you're confirming that was like a monitor, but so unique.
It was, and then I loved Carol Kane as the Christmas present. I thought she was hilarious.
Yeah,
how she beat him up constantly, and how she was just so happy and whatever, and then she'd smack him or whatever. But this is the first time I've seen it in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably saw it when it first came out, and I had never seen it since. But it's not my favorite Bill Murray movie for sure.
Yeah, me neither.
There were aspects of it that I liked. It had wonderful wonderful actors in it. I mean, Alfre Woodard plays his secretary, which she's wonderful. I love seeing Bob Goldthwait in it, which he is so hilarious. Especially like when he goes, I mean, you don't see him anymore. I mean, obviously, but it was just, I forgot about him being in it.
Yeah.
I love the scene when he goes and gives the plasma or the blood or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I'm not sure if you know, but Bill Murray's brother in the movie is his brother in real life.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't realize that until...
I think the guy who plays his dad is also his other brother. So
yes.
I mean, it's not his dad. I mean, like the character, Bill, they go back to the past. They see Bill Murray as a little kid, and it's his brother playing his dad.
Right.
I believe.
Right. Yeah, I think so, because he comes from a big family.
A huge family.
Yes. And that several of them are actors. So I just thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, some of Caddyshack is actually based on Bill Murray's life. Like his whole family, they were caddies. They were into golf. And there's a family in the movie Caddyshack. The main character, the caddy in Caddyshack, is from a big family. And it's based off of Bill Murray's family, essentially.
That's pretty
kind
cool.
of.
That's pretty cool. But I don't know. I loved, and I guess too, I read A Christmas Carol for the first time this year, and I've seen so many different versions of A Christmas Carol. So, I mean, that was one reason I picked it, was because I knew it was going to be more dark comedy or whatever. And,
right, a different version of it.
Different version of it, and not seen it in so long. But I don't know. I think some of the laughs was kind of forced.
Yeah, and Bill Murray, like, usually is so effortless with, like, when he screams, it's funny. But here, like you said, I thought it was a little forced, and I love Bill Murray. So it takes a lot for me to say that. But
that's why I said it just seemed like it was something he just did, like it was the beginning of his career.
Yeah, I just think he might have taken this role, but, like, wasn't as invested. I don't know, because it didn't seem like him.
Yeah.
But I will say the end, for me, redeemed it a little more, because I loved, like, the heartfelt ending where he kind of interrupts the live TV show and kind of says, he gives this big motivational, heartfelt speech, but it's a very Bill Murray type of speech where it's in a front of a big crowd of people. It reminds me of his speech from, I think this is actually his first movie, a movie called Meatballs. Bill Murray gives this big motivational speech in front of a group of kids, and he's like, we can take them, we can beat these other group of kids in this competition. It reminded me a lot when he's telling people, you should do whatever you want on Christmas, you shouldn't be watching the tube, you should be doing this, kiss the girl you like, blah, blah, blah. So I feel like he was kind of giving another motivational Bill Murray speech. So the end felt more pure Bill Murray, more, natural, less forced. Whereas the beginning, where he's mean and angry, it just didn't feel like him. I don't know. He's more of like a cocky, smarmy guy, not like a mean guy. So I think that's why maybe he just had a problem playing that type of character. I don't know.
Maybe so. I mean, I don't know. I didn't really, and then I had to keep rewinding because I was falling asleep. I'm like, I mean, so I don't know. It was not my favorite. It's
not my favorite either. And I stretched to give it a 4 out of 5. I probably would, if it wasn't Bill Murray in it, I would have given it a 3.5 or even a 3 out of 5. Because it's Bill Murray and because the end with the speech, which I liked, that's why I gave it such a 4 out of 5, such a high rating.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I just think it's a cast. It's a wonderful cast. I mean, the actors are wonderful, and I don't know. I thought Carol Kane was hilarious, and I also loved his boss, his boss coming back from the dead, I thought was great. The makeup was wonderful. I thought that was
the mouse out of the back of the head. That was great.
Yes, that part. So there were parts of it that were pretty neat. I just, like I said, he didn't. I don't know.
He didn't feel like him. I understand exactly what you mean, and I'm a Bill Murray fan. He's my favorite actor, essentially. So to me, I kind of remembered why I haven't seen it in so long. It's because I think I didn't like it. So I was just like, I'm not gonna watch it again. But it was decent, just not the best. So overall, we had some gems, we had some mediocre stuff, and we had some terrible stuff. So I want to kind of hear your thoughts, Kat. I want to hear what you think was great, what you think was okay, and what you think was just flippin' terrible. Tell me.
Well, I have to honestly say, my top ones, the ones that I really enjoyed, would be Krampus. Krampus was my number one that I liked. It's really hard to say a number one. So I guess it's the top range or whatever. Krampus, then A Christmas Horror Story, loved Rare Exports, loved Better Watch Out, Anna and the Apocalypse, The Children, Gremlins, and then Black Christmas. And then towards the bottom, more so Scrooge, then Windchill, Christmas Evil, and then Saint.
Saint's the very bottom.
Saint is the very bottom, and I would not recommend that to anybody unless they absolutely have nothing else to watch in their life.
Man, I'm so glad I fell asleep. No, I'm just kidding. I feel bad that you had to go at it alone. You were all alone on that. I feel so bad.
Yeah, but I mean, really and truly, I think the Krampus element, which was a surprise to me because I didn't think 3 of my movies would be surrounding that, and especially my first 3 movies that I watched. And I like the rewatch. Scrooge I was glad I rewatched it. It wouldn't be something I'd put on my holiday list again.
Me too.
Probably not for a very long time or whatever. But, I was glad I rewatched Gremlins. I really love seeing that again. So what about you?
Well, it sounds like you had a pleasant experience. I also had a good time. I wish I could have watched them a little more together. I feel like all my movies were so spread out among different times of this past month. I was kind of working really hard to get them all in. So it's kind of hard because a lot of these were just so spread out for me. But my favorites for sure, I loved A Christmas Evil. I gotta say that probably was my favorite. I really loved it. I don't know. It surprised me. But I will also say other ones I loved, A Christmas Horror Story, Black Christmas, the original was amazing. Rare Exports like you liked, and Krampus. The movies that I thought were okay, the Gingerdead Man, which was almost more than okay because of the laugh ridiculous factor, but basically let's just take it at what it is, face value. It's just okay. Black Christmas, the remake, was good. I'd recommend it, but it wasn't great. The 2019 Black Christmas, it was decent though, but not great. Better Watch Out, you loved it. I was so disturbed that I couldn't mark it as great. I don't know what was wrong with me because I love A Christmas Evil. So you and I are reversed on this. I was so freaked out by Better Watch Out. I was I probably wouldn't watch it for a long time because it just creeped me out so much. And I didn't want to, I wanted something to happen and it didn't happen. And that's why it's not great to me. I had to have something happen and it didn't happen.
Well, hey, people agree with you on Christmas Evil. It did get 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I'm just saying.
You were like, how? And I'm like, yeah. I loved it. So, I don't know. We're reversed on those movies, but I like that we're reversed because it's interesting for sure.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And then more movies that were just okay. Let's see. Obviously, I only watched... Well, how about this? Okay, more movies that were just okay. Scrooged, like I said, I feel bad saying it was just okay, but I can't lie, it really wasn't the best Bill Murray movie at all. Not even in the top 10, in my opinion. Right. It really wasn't the best. Anna and the Apocalypse was decent. I think it was better than okay, but it wasn't great for me, personally. And then what was terrible, the 20 minutes I watched of Saint. That's the bottom of the bucket right there. So we're in agreement on that. And I can't remember if I said Krampus was one of the great ones, too. I can't remember if I said that, but Krampus was great.
Yes, I agree.
So it was a successful Christmas horror marathon. I had a lot of fun. And thank you for inspiring me, Kat. It was just a joy. A creepy joy.
Yes, it was a creepy joy.
So what are your takeaways overall? Like, what are you going to do different next year in terms of your list? Got any ideas for next time?
I don't know. It's going to be different. I mean, I like the 12 Days of Christmas because, once I decided I kind of wanted to connect that to that song, 12 Days of Christmas.
Yeah, and you wrote your own lyrics to the 12
Yes.
Days of Christmas, and you made it the 12 Days of Christmas Horror. People should stay tuned for more about that, by the way.
Yes. And so what I did was I tried to look at the movies that I had chosen and try to incorporate that in my lyrics, just for fun.
Yeah.
But the one thing I have to say, because you are definitely a beast when it comes to watching movies, because like the Halloween movie list that you did, I mean, I cannot even believe how many movies you watched.
I can't either.
I had a hard enough time watching 13 for Halloween. So I was like, okay, well, at least I did it. So I'm going to do the 12, but then I also wanted to do 12 classic movies. At first, I just figured I'd watch some classic movies, but then I'm like, well, how about 12 Days of Christmas Horror and then 12 Days of Christmas Classics?
Yeah.
It's very hard to watch that many movies. So I don't know, and I'm not even finished my classics. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to finish it before Christmas Day. But I kind of feel like if I finish within the month of December with the classics, I'll be okay. I mean, we're still technically in the Christmas season, right?
That makes me feel better because I'm sitting here, you're calling me a beast, and usually I am. This month I have failed miserably on the movies so I had 10 Christmas horror movies and I have 20 Christmas classics.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so a list of 30, and I've literally only watched like 11 or 12. Total, including the 10 horror we just talked about, and then like I've watched 2 other ones that were not horror, and I've got 2 days left right now as of our recording. It's like right before Christmas. I'm like, what are we gonna do? I've got family stuff to do. But if you say you think it's okay for December, then I could continue onwards for a few days after Christmas, and I would not feel bad.
Well, originally when I decided to do the lists, I planned on choosing the horror movies and just for like the month of December. It wasn't almost really going to be a deadline for Christmas. But then when I decided I was going to do the Christmas classics, I'm like, well, I can't do that because if I spread it out, then I'm not going to be able to get all of them. And I didn't want to mix them up. I didn't want to mix up my horror with my regular ones. So, in the beginning, it was kind of hard because my movies were kind of spread out too. Like I watched Krampus, and then days later watched Christmas Horror Story, and then days later were exports, and then I didn't have anything. And then it was sort of like I had to double up. There were some days where I had to watch 2 movies, and I love to watch movies, but when you don't normally watch a lot of television or movies or whatever, I mean, I don't watch nearly as much as I used to when I was younger. It can wear you out. I mean, especially if you do it days in a row. And so I'm like, okay, trying to keep all my stuff straight with that. So I do think if I do this again next year, which I probably would, I would do probably a 12 days. I think 12 movies is more doable for me.
Yeah.
I have a little more time right now because I'm out of school. So I have 2 weeks off that I can do that. And like I said, I'm using my time all the way until the end of December. I know we're going to have a fun list.
Yes.
We're going to talk about a fun list. We haven't scheduled that yet. So I think that may determine when we have our conversation because you have to have time to finish your
other movies. Like I'd like to watch 18, a few more.
You have 18 that you have to finish.
How am I going to do that? I don't even know.
I have 7. So I think, because I was even trying to calculate if I did 2 tomorrow and then I did 2 on Christmas, and I'm like, that you're not going to be able to do that.
I know.
You have
like family. But I'm thinking like my dad, he likes Pee-wee's Christmas special. We could watch that together. I was like, maybe like I could get Paul to be in the room, my mom in the room, even though me and my dad like it only. We could all kind of watch it. I was like trying to like get people in on my like needing to finish these movie type of thing.
Right. Well, if I was sitting here thinking, okay, what would my family like out of all these Christmas movies kind of thing. But so then that's why I decided, look, I'm just going to go ahead and watch whatever I can until whenever, the end of December. And whichever ones I don't get to, whatever. I mean, because you're still technically in the Christmas season.
Yeah, and everyone's still like all Christmassy and
exactly.
The weather's still cold and
I'm not stressing out. But if I do this again next year, which I can't imagine not, because I just love doing the fun list.
Me too.
And I love doing the marathons and the thematic stuff with it. So I think what I would probably do is do a 12 Days of Christmas, but have a combination. Maybe 6
Yes.
horror, 6 classics. And because I do think it, I want to watch good horror movies, and I'd like to try to find something new, not just watch the same ones that I did, maybe repeat the following year or whatever.
Right.
But I just know how I am. Like, I more than likely would watch Krampus again.
Yeah.
Just especially if I read the Krampus book next year. So it would be interesting to have the book and then kind of judge how well the movie portrayed Krampus from a literary point of view.
Right. I'm on the same page as you. I think I kind of overestimated how many movies I could watch. And so I'm sitting here being like, man, like I really wish I could have accomplished the whole list. But there's really no way I'm watching 18 movies. And like, even if I push it to the end of December, which I'm fine doing, and it makes me feel better that you're doing that. And we can even schedule our chat for right at the end of December or right at the beginning of January. And I'd still feel good about that. But it's like, I like the feeling of accomplishing the whole set thing. So it's like, to me, it's like, it's okay if I get most of it and not all, but still, I wish it could have been all. So next year, I'm going to half my list, or at least make it a little smaller. But I got to feel good because like last year, all I watched was Rudolph and the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Well, and also too, I think you're beating yourself up, and you shouldn't. I mean, during the month of October, first of all, you started your Halloween list on the first day of fall.
Yeah,
so
which was in
you
November.
Started in September.
I mean, September. I'm mixing all my months up. Yes, September.
So
November's after Halloween. Brain is fried.
But you started a little bit earlier, and your commitments at that time, you didn't have as many commitments at that time.
Yeah.
So you had more time to watch. Let's fast forward to right now. You had 2 trips that you took with Paul.
3, actually.
Because of work.
Yeah. Oh, 2
because
because
of
of
was
work.
for work, and then you had one with his family. So you have been out of town. So it's not like you've had your normal time. And let's remember, you're working, working hard, long days.
Yeah.
And then you also have been creating content for your Twitch channel. So,
Yeah.
and that's twice a week. So I think you're beating yourself up.
You're too sweet, Kat.
No,
You're right.
So I think you need to cut yourself some slack. Look at what you have left out of those 18 movies.
Pick the good ones, maybe.
Pick the good ones and see how far you get. I mean, you might surprise yourself. I mean, let's see, how many days do we have until the end of December?
A decent amount of days. I think at least, I'm not counting today because I'm not watching any today, so.
Right. Well, you're not counting today, but I mean, say we had, 9 days left. I don't think we have 9 days, but anyway.
No, see, I feel better about the months now because now we can't do math. It's okay. Christmas horror movies have fried our brains somehow.
Well, we're liberal arts majors. That's why we can't do math.
Don't ask us to do science stuff or anything that requires like a crazy amount of thought here.
Well, yeah, we can't figure out how you can't turn into a zombie when blood splashes into your face. Would be the science, and then we can't even count how many days you have left to do your movie.
Yeah, but maybe the blood thing makes us a smart one, because to me that's logical. Why would you want to mix blood up, like zombie blood, with your blood? No.
Right.
I don't care if it's like being bit. I'm not letting their blood touch me.
No.
That's also unreasonable and unlikely, but whatever. But yeah, you're right. I could probably get a lot done in just even 5 days time.
Mm-hmm.
If I did I'm not really going to get a lot done probably Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, but after that for a few days, I've got hardly anything left to do.
Well, and then think about it too. I mean, are there any movies out of the 18 movies that you have left? Are there any that you have already seen?
Quite a few, yeah.
Okay, so then I would eliminate those and then do the ones that you haven't seen first. And then if you have time, go ahead and do the ones and do a rewatch, because at least, I mean, you could still talk about the ones that got away, but you have already seen them.
And that saves stuff for next year. Like you said, there's always next year. And I do feel like, so when you think about horror movies for Halloween, you've got a way bigger pool, in my opinion, to pull from. Whereas the Christmas horror, we could run, or even just regular Christmas classic movies, you could kind of run out in a few years' time. I mean,
definitely.
If you're going to do a big list every year, then you are in danger, I think, of running out. So maybe this is a good thing. You know, space some stuff out. Don't jam it all into one year. I mean, I love doing these thematic lists with you. This just gives me more fun stuff to do with you later, next year and the year after.
Right. Well, and then the other thing, too, I was thinking about, the one thing I liked that you did was with the Gingerdead Man, you made your gingerbread cookies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think if you have less movies on your list, it gives you more options to do something thematic with it, you know, whether you cook a meal or you dress up like a character or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you could do. You know, it could be food, it could be a drink, it could, you know, I don't know,
be some thematic music from a movie.
Thematic music, you know, just anything that could relate to what you're watching, you know, to go along with it. So, and also to your reading, like to me, it's pretty neat to read something. Like I read Polar Express, watch Polar Express. You know, we'll talk more about that when we do it, because then you can make some comparisons. You can, you know, see what's likable about, you know, one version, you know, as opposed to the other. But, yeah. I love doing this. I love having a plan. It's something to look forward to, but at the same time, it shouldn't be anything that's going to stress us out, because the minute it starts stressing us out, then
it's just that damn traveling. Like, it's when you're like on a trip and you're having fun, but at the same time you're like, I really want to watch a movie though too. And then like the other person you're with's like, well, we're not watching movies. So I'm like, damn it. So that's when it gets like a little hard, when you're like kind of wanting to do something, but you're prevented a little. Like, not on purpose, but it just happens like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're both too hard on ourselves, because we've done good this year. And either way, it's fun. No matter how much we get through, this has been a joy to do with you, Kat. Thanks so much for inspiring this list and for literally letting me have a buddy to do this with. So I'm so glad you're into this, because it's so unique. And I think more people, you guys watching, should do it too. Yes. Even if you're not into horror movies, like Kat and I have this regular fun list that is more just general Christmas themed. You could do something like that that's just like Christmassy if you don't like the horror stuff.
Right, because both of our fun list, you know, like our traditional fun list, includes all kinds of different things besides just watching horror movies or reading, you know, horror books or whatever. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things you could do to put your twist.
And if you do at home do something thematic like we have done, we'd love to hear about it. So comment below on this YouTube video, or once Kat posts about this on her blog, comment on her blog post and tell us what you guys have done to kind of celebrate this time of year. And maybe you could also list some of your favorite family traditions, you know, things that you do to celebrate and to have a good time. And because I know Kat's not a big Christmas fan, but this year she kind of went all out. She kind of went full into the spirit.
Yes, and it actually has gotten me looking forward to Christmas.
Yeah, so anything's possible, guys. But I want to thank Kat again. Kat, tell us where we can find your blog. Tell people how to find you.
You can find my blog. It's called The Kat Files, but it's at katloyacano, LOYACANO.com, and that is my blog. So please follow me.
I gotta say, Kat's blog is very inspirational. It's awesome. I love it. I also have a blog, by the way, if you're watching this on Kat's blog already and don't know about my content. I've got a YouTube channel, Super Kicking It with Kelsi. Kelsi is spelled Kelsi. My blog is KelsiExplains.com, KELSI explains.com. And yeah, I just do a whole bunch of pop culture stuff now. I'm also on Twitch. My Twitch name is Super Kicking It, so check me out on there. I'm live every Thursday and Sunday, and Kat's always there in the chat.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun.
We should do something live together one day.
Oh, I didn't even know you could do that.
You can do that, and we should figure it out. That'd be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I've never really done a live thing. I've done recorded things with people, but I'll figure it out. We should do that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, one day, guys. It's something to look forward to. But that's where you could find us. We appreciate you guys. And I'm going to say for my goodbye, I'm going to say, keep the change, you filthy animals. What are you going to say, Kat, to sign off?
Merry Christmas.
Ho, 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 ho. See you later, guys. Thank you.
Bye.